going to, as always, give it just a couple minutes for folks to drop in chat and for me to test my audio. Then we'll get going on Hand of Fate 2. Really excited for this. Alright, I think we're good to go ahead and get started. So, welcome one and all to another Overanalyst stream. Going, I think, 6 nights in a row now, which is a record for me. My name is Brady, and I'm going to be your host this evening as we delve into Hand of Fate 2, the sequel to 2015's critically acclaimed indie darling that we played through over the past 5 days. Actually beat the game for the first time ever last night on stream, and had just a really exceptional experience with it, thanks to a lot of help from you guys in chat, of course. But it was a really solid experience all around, and I'm so excited to share the sequel with you, because I've only played about halfway through it, I want to say, roughly, and I find, and the critical consensus seems to be, that this game is an improvement over the first in just about every measurable way. There's a better, more well-developed plot, combat, and the enemies you'll be facing are more interesting. The different ways in which everything from gear to choices made in text adventures to the games of chance, of which there are now several instead of just the 4-card Monty, can affect the game itself are just vastly more numerous. There's a whole lot to enjoy about this one. Before we dive in, one thing I want to call your attention to as we play through the game is how much more holistically the combat and sort of encounter cards and their little miniature plot lines are integrated into a lot of the chapter stories. In the first game, there was generally kind of this disconnect between the actual goal and theme of each chapter, you know, going for one of the dealer's courtiers or the dealer himself, and then all of these little disjoint events conjured up from our characters' memories that we actually played through. And now there's plenty of events like that that seem like one-offs or self-contained storylines in this game, and I think they're really cool. But, like in the first game, how there would be a general theme to each chapter, like, oh, maybe the Jack of Plague, the Ratman general, and his horde ravaged this area and, like, ate or stole or ruined all of the crops, so it's going to be harder to find food, and there will be angry mobs out looking for what, like, sustenance they can find, and they might attack you, like, just with these random encounter cards. That was about as deep as the gameplay or the cards and the events would change to suit each chapter. Or, like, you know, in the finale, the dealer got fed up with us and wanted to effectively break the game, so he started introducing a number of cards into the deck that would lay curses and fiendish little traps on us. In this game, something that's so cool is just about every chapter, of which there are considerably more than were in the first game, has its own distinct rules, its own distinct story, and usually a unique suite of cards to go along with them that have the flavor of and unique elements pertaining to that chapter storyline or unique mechanics. That's not to say we don't get to construct our own deck out of encounter cards and equipment and all that good stuff. We certainly do, but depending on the chapter we'll be playing, we have a much greater chance of seeing something totally unique we can't see anywhere else in the game. I think it's awesome, and I hope you guys enjoy. We are going to get started. If you recall, the first game ended with us taking the dealer, this sort of eldritch, humanoid, like demigod's power, after defeating him at his own enchanted game, and banishing him seemingly from the world forever to take his place. So this game begins a little bit differently. In this little wagon. I may or may not need to delete extant data. I don't think so, though. I don't think so.
Your memories are fading even now, gone to form the soul of the game you play. These pieces are new, as are the stakes.
And he's back, somehow.
And vengeance. You must ride, for time is short, and you have much to learn. Make your first choice, and let us set these wheels in motion once more.
So, somehow the dealer is alive, or some approximation thereof, after his defeat in the first game. And this time, he looks a lot worse for wear. There's heavy scarring on the left side of his body, and his vestments aren't quite as extravagant. He's clearly, one second. Sorry, I'm just trying to set the stage as best I can. We'll get into the game, I promise. He's clearly, much, much weaker, and the central conceit of this game is, as opposed to playing against you and trying to thwart your attempts to take his power the first time around, he's trying to train us as a separate character from the one we played in the first game, up to accomplish great things. And it's implied, restore him to what he believes is his rightful place as we go. So this time, the dealer's going to be genuinely on our side through the entire game. And again, just shout out to Defiant Development and their choice of casting for the dealer, because this actor's performance is amazing, and his voice is so sonorous, so beautiful. I'm going to try not to talk over him too much, unless we just get a lot of repeating dialogue. So, we get to choose the gender of our character this time around. I'll go with male. And
These cards represent your history and our game. We know where they end, for you are here. Therefore, these cards must guide you to my side. Let us see what the journey holds.
so,
Fool steps into nothingness because they know no better. In the same way, you must step into the void. You are a blank slate, and together we will write your history.
So, as you can see, instead of the traditional, the face card setup we had for Hand of Fate 1, where all the bosses except the final boss had a suit they corresponded to, and they were either the Jack, Queen, or King of that suit. All of the bosses and chapters in this game correspond to the major arcana of the tarot. Meaning there's quite a few more, and they have really cool, distinct theming. That's not to say there aren't still enemies in suits. There are. They just correspond, I believe, to the minor arcana this time around, instead of spades, clubs, hearts, and diamonds. And a lot of familiar stuff here. We got the cards, we've got our 3 resources, life, food, and gold from the first game, as well as a token in our little token dish already. As well as that really badass looking map of this region over to the left. And you might notice a couple new pieces to the game laying around.
We have things to do.
So we're going to begin with the Forest Ambush. You've stumbled many miles through this forest in search of the thieves who robbed you. Though exhausted and hungry, you're determined to reclaim your father's amulet. You finally catch sight of the thieves hacking at a large tree and arguing among themselves. So we have our new bandits, not the Dust from the first game. This is a distinct faction with its own mechanics, its own appearance, all that. The Greed Court, along with their leader. So we're going to move closer to eavesdrop, and it's the old Monty again.
Has been improved, even those that seem at first glance.
Yay!
Do not worry, you will soon understand the nuances.
Let's hope we don't fail right off, and we didn't. I like the design of the new cards just a bit better, like the nice purple backs. The game as a whole, like the aspects of the game, seem a bit more colorful, a bit less faded. I really appreciate that. Creeping forward, you overhear their leader spouting orders. It's simple, he says. The idiots walk down the road, you push over the tree and jump out. They'll be too scared to put up a fight, and we'll get rich. Why don't we just jump out and stab them? One retorts. Another hooded figure chimes in. Yeah, corpses don't put up a fight either. Frustration rises in the leader's voice. The Empire doesn't care if a few farmers lose some sprouts, but drop a corpse on the royal road and the place will be filled with soldiers before you've even spent the coin. We don't need that trouble. Now quiet. Here they come. Ah, another new suit. The Toil suit, representing civilians, farmers, things like that. You soon spot a group of farmers coming around the corner, bringing their wares to market. The thieves fell the tree into the path of the unsuspecting farmers and leap out, weapons brandished. Give us all your food. So, we have 3 options here. And this game is a bit better about providing you with many different options as to how encounters can play out instead of do you get involved or do you not. We can either help the thieves, offer to help the farmers and extort them for a little bit of aid ourselves, or just do the quote-unquote right thing and move in to help them. I'm going to help them out. You draw your weapon with practice skill, and it's time to get back into that great Arkhamverse light combat. Well, you hear the leader's voice. You lads handle this. I'll meet you when you're done. And we have a Doctor Who-like transition into the game world. Oh, seriously, guys, this is so cool. Like, the first game's so good, but this one is incredible. And every time we meet new enemies, we get a flashy introduction to them, not just bosses. So here we meet the thugs. Violence for the sake of violence, and theft for the sake of money. Thieves attack frequently and can evade standard attacks, making heavy weapons less effective. Already a ton of cool stuff here. There are now different types of weapons that have certain modifiers or unique mechanics associated with them beyond simple traits and, like, numbers. And yeah, as mentioned, the thugs can actually dodge our attacks and can do so pretty often. Unlike the Dust Bandits from the first game, these guys can actually be pretty difficult if you have to face them in large numbers, but just 4 of them, while we have some backup, shouldn't be that bad. We've got a crap-ass sword and a shield, and you can see we've got health bars for all of our allies over on the left-hand side, as well as, should have, since I ticked this box in the options, health bars for the thugs as well. Yes. Always a good idea to see... Oh, and it looks like we can perform a finishing move now. Yeah. When you build up a big enough combo in this game, you get access to finishers. Combat in general feels a little bit tighter and responsive. Pretty good, all in all. So we took them down, not too bad. It's gonna take a little bit of time to reacclimate myself to the combat mechanics, especially since you can perform certain finishers and other moves when you build up a large enough combo with either trigger, I believe. The farmers fumble in their haversacks in gratitude. Thank you, adventurer. I'm sure that after they took our food, they would have taken our lives as well. And we get some food, quite a lot of food. You fall on the food with a sigh, shoveling bread in your mouth to quell your hunger. Your satisfaction lasts only a moment before you realize your father's amulet is not among the takings. So we lose a food. Their leader must still have it. You set to your feet, determined to find him. And as you can see in the upper right-hand corner, dude, we actually have objectives this time around, and these are going to change with every chapter, usually introducing new mechanics with them. This one's very straightforward. As we can tell, or you could probably tell, the leader of the bandits in this case is the titular fool of the chapter, and our antagonist for now. A friend in need. Oh, that guy looks familiar, doesn't he? While enjoying a moment beside the fire, you spy a strange figure approaching your camp. It's a goblin, dressed in what must pass for goblin finery. From beneath a filthy fox pelt serving as an ill-fitting wig, the goblin winks at you with wild red eyes. Aha! I've been roaming for hours trying to find you. We must get this over with quickly if I have any hope of getting to all the people on my list before sunrise. It lowers a sack from its shoulder. Now, from within my sack, I can conjure whatever your heart desires. The goblin's voice trails off as he examines his sack. Well, I could if there wasn't a bloomin' great hole in it. His head disappears from entirely into the bag until his bulbous nose protrudes from the breach. A new plan, then. The goblin pulls out his last trinkets. Ooh, we get to pick something. Any of these are better than our starting equipment, but I'm favoring getting a better weapon. And as you can see, weapons now have quite a few different traits. So let's just go over these. This is the soldier's sword. It requires 8 hits to build up a large enough combo to perform finishers or other special moves. Against a faction called the Northerners, who I'm just now remembering, and sorry, just so many awesome memories coming back to me. I'm going to be a little incoherent and a little giddy through this entire stream. When we build up to 8 hits with the soldier's sword, we can perform a powerful strike that causes roughly 2.5 times our standard damage. Very nice. It can riposte between combo attacks as a one-handed weapon, and additional defense from a shield is useful against Northerners. They tend to attack very, very quickly and in rapid succession. And we also deal additional damage against the Northerners. 15 damage, pretty solid. The Warrior's Axe is a heavy weapon, meaning it's going to swing a lot slower, but our Bash, taking the place of the Shield Bash, deals additional damage to armor and enemies while they block, susceptible to evasion, though. We deal extra damage against the Corrupted, another unique faction, and one we'll see some more of probably tonight. And it has a critical strike that we can trigger after only 5 hits, though those hits will come much more slowly. And just a standard shield that's a little bit better than our current one. So, I'm tempted to go with a soldier's sword, if only because the thugs can evade attacks from heavy weapons pretty easily. So that'll replace our neglected sword, it's a little bit better, and its critical strike deals a bit more damage. A wise choice. Now I must go. There are many others I must visit before I can rest. The goblin runs off into the night, his fox wig flapping in the evening breeze. Well, good to see Mr. Lionel still getting work, eh? Finding the forest folk.
Has a token. Can you find it?
Your journey through a forest is interrupted by an inquisitive child. Are you searching for the forest folk? My uncle says they used to walk these woods giving out gifts. I want to find one and ask for a lemon cake. As they dash off to peer under a nearby log, the child shouts back, Remember, if you meet the forest folk, get me a lemon cake! In the other direction, an eerie song hangs in the air. You attempt to find its origin. Oh no. Let's see if I can follow it this time. Huh? Yay! You follow the song through thicket and stream until you find an open glade bathed in golden sunlight. You find an aged maiden, her posture bent like the boughs of a forest. It has been 12 winters since I had a visitor. Her voice is a whisper, yet it thunders in your ears. You may visit me when you are in need, adventurer. And we get a token.
Even if you lose the
Righteous.
token, you have earned this token.
So as you can see, this first little string of encounters mirrors our first batch from Hand of Fate 1, with the friend in need obviously being a reappearance of Mr. Lionel, our goblin friend from the early stages of Hand of Fate, and this being
Nothing could be more
a repeat
fitting now
of
than
the,
the mage who started this all.
or a throwback to the Elven Maiden.
Started it all for you.
A trail of fallen trees and distraught farmers leads you to the thieves who had stolen your amulet. It seems their infighting has only gotten worse. The bandits surround their former leader, weapons drawn. Everyone will get their fair share. There's no need for violence, the leader implores. Who ever heard a thief talk about fair shares, spits one. You turn up and boss us around, and we've barely stabbed anyone. It's been days since I stabbed someone. Days! The leader notices you approaching and waves you over. As much as I'd love to continue this discussion regarding stabbings, I'm afraid I have urgent business with my associate here. As he greets you, he whispers, "Keep me alive, and there'll be plenty of gold for your trouble." Don't want to be too violent, so we'll just tell him that gold can't replace the amulet he stole. He holds up a finger. First rule of negotiation, never let them know what you want. Kill my associates, and I will gladly return your amulet. Ever reliable, the thieves draw their blades to mug you, and the leader hurries away to hide. "Give us your stuff, or we'll stab you up," growls one of them. Well, time to fight. You draw your weapon and prepare to deal with the miscreants on the Royal Road. This time we're not going to have any backup, which for Hand of Fate 2 is actually pretty rare. A lot of times we will have some kind of partners in combat, which again really spices things up. Oh, now that's a better sword. Stab him up. Huh! Ooh, he attacked twice in quick succession. That's new, eh? Yeah, so they can do two-hit combos. Certain enemies, like the aforementioned Northerners, can do way more. As you can see, combat moves a lot faster as well. There's not quite so much of a lull between both either my attacks or the enemies. With the battle resolved, the thief leader nods in approval at the carnage before him. He holds out a hand. "The name is Malaclips, Bard Extraordinaire." His smile fades under your withering glare. Sensing your anger, he raises his hands in surrender. Wait. Let's not be hasty. We're on the same side here. I'm an upstanding citizen just like you. I've been working with the thieves, yes, but only for the greater good. No, really. They were killing people before I came along. I know it seems bad, but look. He pulls out an amulet from his pockets and presses it into your hands. All is forgiven, yes? You stare at the amulet. It does not look familiar. Oh? Malaclips says, scratching his head. He opens a small satchel. So, which one is yours? So now we get to pick an amulet. I think this is purely aesthetic, but we have four options here. The lion, the crow, eagle, I think. Some kind of ox, or the sphinx. I'm gonna go for the sphinx because, well, it's the only one that isn't just a bog standard animal, so. The Sun King amulet. That suits you. Very similar facial structure. Say, you know what? I'm lonely, you're lonely. We should work together. You've befriended Malaclips the Trickster, and his card is changed accordingly. We should probably get to know one another, seeing as we're going to be friends for life, Malaclips says. Tell me, where are you from? So now we get to customize our character a little bit. And so I can get into this before we get thrown back into the action. Malaclips is the first in a series of brand new first in a series of a brand new type of action or a mechanic for this game. A partner. He is actually going to join us in battle and provide us with certain benefits both in combat as well as on the game board when it comes to certain games of chance. He's really handy, and I believe at the end of, as far as I got, during my initial playthrough of Hand of Fate 2, I'd unlocked all four companions, I believe there's only 4, or at least there were as of the initial release. And he is far and away my favorite. So here we get to choose our character and customize them a little bit. I'll go with some longer black hair. We can pick our favorite amulet. We don't exactly have fantastic choices of color here, unfortunately. We have 4, and I kind of like that one, but the sort of like burgundy magenta shade on the, or like a light purple on the cloak kind of clashes with the green. This one looks quite nice. Yeah, let's go for it for now. And here we can do like skin color and things like that. Yeah, let's go with that. Our hero, ladies and gentlemen. We can edit this at any time as well, I think. I don't know that you unlock any additional options as far as like amulets or costume colors, but I don't recall doing so. From Clearwater, eh? You don't say. Good sorts from Clearwater. Very trusting. Oh, by the way, I mean we, friend, owe money to Vignus of the Thieves Guild. He's quite angry with us. We should journey to Mirebridge together to appease him. Some gold might help. As you can see, our objective changed. Although, come to think of it, I'm rather busy. Malaclip's eyes a pretty traitor hiking up the road. So, it'd be best if you get the gold, and I meet you there. The archetypal, lovable rogue, folks, in his element. Alright, so now we just need to get our hands on a butt-ton of gold for the Thieves Guild leader.
Smaller pieces of our fates, shattered into fragments. Collect enough, and your reward will come in time.
So 10 gold is at stake. You enter a competition of strength at a fair. A small gold prize is available to the winner. In the first round of the competition, your opponent is the diminutive Roland, a halfling from a traveling troupe of acrobats. And here, we get to roll dice. Now, the dice are interesting. Generally, they're not as bad or as difficult as the Monty, because you get to select certain dice to re-roll usually. We only need 10 here, so can't be too bad. 9. So we'll re-roll this 2 and hope to get something better. And we did, see? Nice. So we beat Roland. Roland is no match for your strength. He gives a disappointed backflip off the table and collects his meager winnings, then cartwheels out the door. And we get 10 gold. You take your reward from the purser on the way out the tavern. When you return, you'll compete in the next round for a larger prize. Certain events in this game, like that one, see you returning to the same card several times in a row in order to unlock tokens and progress through increasingly difficult or intricate challenges, as opposed to certain quest lines from the first game where you would encounter the same exact NPC and go through a variant of a very similar quest over and over again, like the Devil's Choice, Devil's Gambit quest line, or the Demon Trader quest line, or the Charity quest line. Here, events like that would all be handled on one card. The Distressed Zamble. The road ahead is blocked by an overturned carriage and a woman calling for help. "Please help," she cries. "I've been robbed by a band of thugs. Is there anything you can do?" Much higher, I say much, slightly higher dice target here, and here's hoping we can hit it. I like that they tell you what your target's going to be before you agree to enter into the chance game. Eight. Not great. We might not get this. Oh, but we did, right on the money. Hey, not complaining. Thank you, the woman says as you help her from the carriage. Please accept this as a token of my gratitude. More food. And 15 gold. You thank the woman and continue on your way.
Celebration
Carnival.
made of what? You see how quickly the actions of the usurper are turned into tales for children.
Yeah, so this fleshes out the world a little bit. Nearing the sleepy hamlet of Dulwich, which I believe was from the first game, yeah? You find the villagers in the midst of some kind of celebration. Much of the activity concerns a large paper and wood statue depicting a fearsome warrior looming triumphantly over a prone lizard man. Yeah, if only. So the usurper is named Callus. And Callus, who we will hear about constantly throughout the game, is our character from the first game, who gained much of the dealer's power after banishing him at the conclusion of the game. So Callus is a very notable figure here, so we're going to ask someone about what's going on. A friendly stable hand explains, in a bygone age, our town was beset by half men, half lizards. There was no food, no respite, and very little hope. Salvation came in the form of a nameless warrior who hunted the beasts for little more than a handful of coins and a crust of bread. Not by choice, though, my guy. He smiles warmly at the festivities. We honor the warrior like this. The statue is filled with food and gold, and we take turns smashing it to bits with a club. You're welcome to join us and may keep whatever falls out. Yes, I'll follow the parade. The parade ends in the town square. You watch as the villagers take turns smashing the statue with a club and gathering the food and gold that spills out. A local notices your interest and asks if you would like a turn. I'll watch a local go first. You allow a young girl to go ahead of you in the queue, an act of courtesy that grants you the opportunity to see how this works. The crowd cheers enthusiastically as the child smacks the lizard man's ankle with the club and gathers a few coins and a wrapped sweetbread as they fall out. It's soon your turn. You accept the blindfold and take the club into your hands. Monty time once again. Let's see what we got. Hey! The club strikes the chest of the treat-laden beast. Some gold falls out. You survey the spoils and try to scoop them up before anyone else can. Let's see if we can't follow him. Oh man, failure. So they gather the gold before we do. That's a shame.
Water is a symbol for the many thoughts that churn beneath the surface. What is it you're thinking of?
I believe...
What concern is worrying at your mind? Let it fall into the waters beneath.
I could be wrong, but I believe Malaclypse, when we actually have him with us, makes the gambits involving the 4-card Monties much, much easier. Hence why I love having him around. While crossing a stone bridge, you suddenly find yourself confronted by a villainous band. Oh, it's the Four of Blight. You could stand and fight the fiends or throw yourself to the mercy of the river below. We're gonna fight. The Blight are really interesting, and I'll talk more about them as we actually see them for the first time. They are not remotely challenging at this stage of the game, but they're really, really cool. There's also greater diversity of mechanics between factions in this game. The Inflicted. The first touches of corruption bring forth the darkest elements of their victims. Infected enemies are feeble, causing them to become knocked down when health is low. Use a finisher before they can recover. So yeah, these are basically zombies who have been infected with a bizarre crystalline pathogen. This is the most, sort of nascent form of the disease we're going to encounter, but we'll see quite a few. I really like these guys as they're pretty tanky and hit harder than the standard thugs of the Greed faction, but they're also incredibly slow, if I'm remembering correctly, or comparatively slow, I should say. And they can only be killed with a finisher. So, not only do you have to manage them individually, but you have to make sure there's enough room or space around you to allow you to execute that finisher without taking damage before they get back up again. As you can see, they've got a bit more health. Oh, we took care of that one, though. Why are they not just dropping? I thought they typically did. There's one. Huh. Maybe you can kill them, then? So as you can see, I would say probably easier blow for blow than the thieves, just because they're not as mobile. Having spilled your enemy's blood, you search the bodies for anything useful. Ooh, equipment. The warrior's axe, which we won't equip, but we will sell. And food.
Here we come to the end of the beginning. Running errands for mages.
So,
this will become a theme, I dare say.
As you can see, a lot of the cards, especially transitions, are no longer just totally generic. They're relevant to the storyline of the chapter and progress that story, with more random cards being interjected throughout. You arrive at Mire Bridge as the sun begins to dip below the horizon. You find Malaclips perusing a selection of cheeses by the market. Ah, if it isn't my good friend the adventurer. Did you bring the gold? Vignis has agreed to meet us at the graveyard. We will go to the graveyard then. You wonder whether the spot was chosen for its seclusion or for easy body disposal. Vignis greets Malaclips with a sly grin. Looks like you turned up after all, and with a lackey in tow. We had our doubts, you know. The anarchist of Creed. Vignis cracks his knuckles and giggles. Well now, Malaclips, convince me. What's to stop me cutting off your head today? You reveal some gold as Malaclips scrouches in his pockets for some too. The heavy satchel of riches lands at Vignis' feet with a thud that echoes through the silence of the cemetery. That's our deal done, Malaclips says, worry obvious in his voice. No need for further troubles. I'm sorry, Mal, Vignis grins. You should have known the guild was never going to let you pay with cash stolen from our members in the first place. So it's the anarchist Vignis along with 4 thugs. What's super cool... Sorry, I know I keep saying things are super cool, but so many things are about this game. As opposed to just standard enemies and then, like, foot soldiers and then the bosses, each faction of enemies present in this game has several different variants, including the foot soldiers, in this case, for greed, the thugs, and a number of more powerful elite variants that'll get mixed in with regular foot soldiers that I'll be referring to as elites or captains. And Vignis is an example of just such a captain, the anarchist. Vignis the crazed. Treacherous and greedy, a dangerous combination. Anarchists throw flaming bombs that cause fire damage. Your armor is no use to you here, so it, pierces through any defense we may have. So, yeah, in this case, Vignis is technically the boss of this chapter, and is suitably tough for our first time encountering this enemy, but this enemy hereafter will become relatively commonplace. So I'm gonna try to avoid his bombs while just getting a feel of the fight, first off. Oof. Gotta remember they have a follow-up. That should get him. Good. Good. Once Vignis is without his backup, he should go down really, really easily. Man, he's getting aggressive now, though. Love how much more dynamic the combat animations are. Let's see. Get him. And that's the only other real attack I believe these guys have, is that very clearly telegraphed fire breath attack. Got him. Well, almost. Heavy... that's right, there are no heavy attacks, silly me. And down he goes. Our first boss in Hand of Fate 2, representing the Fool Arcana, has been banished. Pretty easy, no? Maybe even easier than the Jack of Dust. Malaclip scratches his chin thoughtfully. It seems you could do with someone savvy to help you navigate these tricky matters of diplomacy. Like, maybe killing everyone wasn't the best idea. Come, let us discuss our partnership over an ale or two. And with that, we've completed our first chapter,
Well done.
earning the Fool's
You cleared the
Token.
first challenge, and now we can move on to the next.
What have we earned? The Cardinal Blade and the Bastion of Purification. Now notice that some equipment cards in this game have tokens of their own. Those are going to come into play very shortly, and I think they're rather cool. We also earn new encounters: the Market Thief, Tarts, Pies, and Exotic Lies, the Fork in the Road, and the next stage of the arm wrestling competition. And for befriending Malaclips, we earn the first in a series of events specifically tied to him, and his, companion card. Shadow Beasts have entered the realm. A Fiend in Need, and the Peasant's Son. Interesting to see that the Fiend in Need appears to reference the Embertown hero almost directly. And for finding the Forest Folk, we find the Old Maiden. Yet another throwback to the first game and its events.
Welcome to my challenges. Together, we will traverse 22 paths of wisdom and despair in the hope of awakening.
Yeah, so 22 different chapters in the campaign mode, a special endless mode, I should say, and 2 additional campaigns that I know nothing about. I know nothing about this game or its DLC, so I'm going to look into that after tonight's stream. But guys, if you don't mind, first we are going to take our first break. I'll be back in about 4 or 5 minutes, so that we can take on the Magician Arcana, which is pretty fun, if I recall. Don't go anywhere.
Are you confused? Complete these challenges and you will be ready to face the usurper.
Alright, ladies and gents, we are back to take on the first really proper challenge in Hand of Fate 2. The Fool was a nice little introduction, but now we're going to move on to the Arcana proper. Well, I shouldn't say the Arcana proper. The Fool actually is the first major Arcana in Tarot. But the first proper challenge associated with an Arcana, the Magician. And there is a relevance between each of the Arcana and the challenges they select, or they represent. Usually it's directly tied to the boss and who or what they are or do in the story. But once in a while it could be related to one of your allies, or even to some mechanic that's at play only in that chapter. This time around, we're taking on the Magician.
Nothing here is coincidence. The answer to every question is in the cards if you but look.
So, here we get a synopsis of the plot of this particular chapter, which I really appreciate, as well as the unique mechanics associated with it. Rescue the missing Empire soldiers from a town plagued with corruption. So, the first thing it tells us is we're going to be fighting more of the plague zombies we ran into near the end of the previous chapter, and also that we're going to lose gold for every Imperial legionary killed. The Empire is a faction associated with Callus, the usurper, that we're going to be fighting, I think, principally toward the back half of the campaign. Doesn't mean we're not going to see him before then, obviously, but for the most part, we're going to be either avoiding them or, in some cases, actively helping them in the early stages of the game, because it's implied to be this very wide, kind of diverse human government, and some of its leaders are better than others. So in this case, they are technically the good guys, and we want to avoid killing them if we can. We're going to go ahead and put together a recommended deck, and then I'll tweak it up a little bit, as always. So we have
Take their recommendations if you wish.
a companion.
Be sufficient for now.
Oh, we have more companions through DLC. Interesting. Definitely want to get that DLC before tomorrow night's stream, though. Then, and Malaclips will actually come into combat with us, casting ranged spells, but they're not exceptionally powerful, if I recall. They're a bit like the homing magic that the mages from the first game used. Why we really want Malaclips along is that he can, once every 30 seconds, generate a magic shield that will absorb a single hit, regardless of its potency. So this means if we're up against something huge, like one of the lava golems from the first game, we could take one hit from it just as well as we could take a hit from one of the thugs. And also, there is a special new type of card gambit in this game. It wasn't the standard Monty, it was the wheel gambit that he assists with. But in exchange for taking his help, he won't be available to us in combat for some time. That's the trade-off. He's the only companion available to us, and we will take him for the time being. Oh, no, we removed him. Whoopsie.
This one, however, I would rather discern.
In terms of equipment, we only have 5 equipment cards, so we taken all of them. Ah, that's interesting. These tokens represent shards of larger, proper tokens. So get X amount of shards, unlock new cards. Alright. And then the Bastion of Purification. I rather like the look of that. And then encounters. What do we got? I'll keep these, because they're all new. And Malaclips's Problem. That's a good one. We only get 5 encounters. That's a shame. Because this particular chapter has a lot of cards that are, like, kind of unique to it. Why don't we, just for now, replace deep water with a fiend in need? I'm curious to see what that one's all about. Probably nothing good. And there's something unique to this game you can see down in the lower left corner, something called Platinum and Brimstone cards. I'm not entirely sure what either of those are. I've forgotten if ever I knew. So, let's get on with the game.
A casual call to heroism. How many adventures start thus? For 100 years I have thought about nothing but the game. I was defeated, it is true. I became complacent long before then. I thought I knew everything about the game and what it could be. Now you see before you the extent of my research. I have crafted this game anew.
Whispers from the west. Your conversation with the fur trader is interrupted as Malaclypse arrives in a flurry. The whispers speak of trouble at the edge of the Empire. The town of Westwind is suffering against the Blight. Let's find out a bit more. Let's ask where it is for starters. Westwind sits on the outer edge of the Empire, while the Emperor focuses on the capital, its nobles and merchants. Those at the fringes are neglected. Let's ask what makes it special. I've traveled far to escape the oppression of the Empire. Westwind gave me my freedom, and I intend to return the favor. A small garrison is meant to be protecting the town, but apparently they're all either dead, missing, or drunk. The whispers speak... Yeah, so same thing. Head to Westwind. Return to the markets and ask if any traders headed to Westwind might need an escort. There are 3 options. So a stonemason, a wood wagon, or a food wagon, listen to me, or a weaponsmith. I'm gonna go with the weaponsmith. You arrange an uncomfortable ride jammed in among the many tools of a weaponsmith headed far west. And we get the Cardinal Blade right off the bat.
It indicates the truth of all directions.
So instead of a critical strike, every 8 hits we land on enemies essentially grants us a use of the Damocles, firing blades in every direction and additional damage to the corrupted, very handy. And Bash causes additional damage to armor, which is great, as the corrupted are all technically considered armored targets, I believe. You arrive at the town of Westwind. To defend the town, you'll need to locate as many Empire soldiers as you can before the Blight invades. So we're going to be recruiting the Imperial garrison as we go, bit by bit. And I believe we lose gold for every Imperial soldier that dies while in our presence, not just every soldier we kill.
In exchange for life.
A fiend in need. As you hike through the mountains one day, you come across an injured traveler. Though he is clearly deeply wounded and barely moving, you sense something disturbing about the cloaked figure and approach with caution. You, mortal, come here, the creature commands, his voice rasping. I need sustenance to heal myself, and you will provide it. You draw your weapon, and the beast weakly raises its arm to defend itself. Spare me, and I will make it worth your while. We'll ask how. 3 days ago, I happened to feast upon one of your kind. A holy man of some nature, I believe, who could no doubt cure you of your wounds. Grant me a pittance of your blood to restore my strength, and I swear I shall bring him to you. We of the least never break our word. I'll accept the offer, because even if he drains our max health, the combat encounters in this chapter ain't too tricky. As you lower your blade, he suddenly lunges at you. Oh, just not even max health. The creature continues to draw blood from her arm. We'll wait. As he takes more. And we'll wait. He takes a moment to regain his composure. We threw him off after 3 bloodlettings. I would have recovered my full strength in time, I've no doubt, but I admit you've been a boon to me this night. He gestures at the darkness, saying, the humans who dared to think they could best me in combat lie fallen in a clearing to the south. Their ambition was as foolish as their deaths were quick, but perhaps they had something that would be of use to you. The shadows seem to gather about this person until nothing remains. You set out with a flaming torch and soon arrive at the scene of slaughter. A dozen armed men have been recently butchered here. Among the remains you find no decent equipment, just the tools of farmers and provincial soldiers. As you leave the carnage, you step on a blade hidden in the shadows of the grass. The Night Sword.
A weapon you do not wish to see turned against you one day.
Oh, dude, this must be a DLC weapon. One of the DLC was Shadows and something, and I guess it added a brand new faction, the Demons, against which this Night Sword is more powerful, but we already have something for fighting the corruption. I'll take the token. Gladly. Captured soldiers. Oh, man.
From a loose collection of tribes to something to truly fear.
So, not the best time to meet them when we're at health this low, but it's time to encounter the Northerners, or the Frost faction. Basically, these giant barbarians that attack very quickly and with great potency, with all manner of axes and javelins and things. I'd say of the factions that were included in this game at the base, that I encountered anyway, they were probably the most dangerous. So we found some Imperial soldiers strung up by Northerners, we'll fight to free them.
Let's see if the mage can help you here.
And Malaclips will definitely help us out with that shield. At least until I whittle the Northerners down. Here he is, boys. Malaclips. A magician, a jester, and a vagabond. When activated, Malaclips casts a protective spell on you that can block a single hit. So we only get one card intro per combat, so we'll have to wait until the Northerners are encountered again to get a proper introduction to them. There we go. Oh, and the Northerners, it appears, do have an unblockable attack. Yay! Oh, the visual effects on that. Lovely. Big guys, ain't they? Shoo, look at that sword. Looks like one of the Goron weapons from Zelda Breath of the Wild. Speaking of which, I like the look of our sword as well. Pretty nice. We get some equipment. A shield that's better than our rusty old wooden shield, and this one can deflect ranged attacks, I think. Well, now, what's the difference between the shield ability on the left and the shield reflect on the right? Oh, the one on the left can only block ranged attacks. The one on the right can reflect them to their point of origin. Health potion, and with the Northerners dead, we recruit 2 Imperial Legionnaires to our side.
Your supplies.
The general store.
Make your choices carefully.
The shopkeeper nods to you as you enter. Adventurer, how's the world out there? Let's see what he's got in terms of equipment. Oh, the Bastion of Purification. Huh. The old merchant's ring makes a reappearance. And this one right here is damaging to the corrupted. So tell you what, we're gonna sell that Night Sword for now, since it's not going to be terribly useful. Well, no, would that even be enough? Nope, never mind. Then we are going to do nothing.
In my day,
the market thief
kept their distance. None would pickpocket a mage for fear of failure, or worse, success.
The Market Bazaar is a hive of activity. Traders from across the lands call out to passers-by to sell their wares. As the sun beats down on the crowded street, you pause briefly to draw water from a fountain. MC2M, hey, how's it going, man? Glad to have you back in the chat. Ladies and gents, if you're watching this VOD, MC2M is our resident Hand of Fate expert. They gave me a great deal of assistance as I progressed through the first game, and I'm thrilled to come back to the second now. I actually didn't know there was a ton of DLC released for this game I haven't purchased yet that added new companions, new game modes, and even brand new enemy factions in their entirety. Really looking forward to that. You feel something tug on the inside of your tunic. Turning quickly, you discover a pickpocket making off with some of your belongings. You jump to your feet and catch a glimpse of the thief as they weave through the crowd. Oh no. What are we thinking? What are we thinking? Three, maybe? I'm thinking 3. I mean, the stakes are really low on this one, so it doesn't really matter if we fail, but I would like to get that token. 1 second, gonna take a drink. Then press our luck. Yay! Oh, alright, you sod. Keep your darn stuff, the thief mutters as they drop your belongings on the ground. As you gather up your things, the thief runs off, back into the crowd. So we need a huge success to get the token there.
Here we begin to see one of the small ways I've changed the game. Each challenge differs both in their rules and their objectives. Even those cards which were once the stairs now vary per challenge, as you will see.
Easily one of my favorite changes made to the game. The West Wind Bell Tower chimes feverishly. Oh no, MC2M says, finishing my Grimrock 2 run, then I'll pay attention to cards. Oh, no worries, man. I've never played the Grimrock games, but I've heard excellent things. I've also heard they're quite difficult in the style of those old dungeon crawler computer RPGs. The Westwind Bell Tower chimes feverishly. The town crier bellows, "There's corrupted inside the town! They broke through the sewers and into Louse Lane. Our brave soldiers have gone down there to sort it out." Just 3 zombies, we can handle that. You arrive to find Westwind's few remaining soldiers huddled at the entrance to its poorest area, Louse Lane. We cannot let the corruption spread. For the good of the town, we must dispose of anyone who's been tainted, even a little. You can confirm both of those things? Oh, righteous. I might have to give those a go once I figure out streaming directly from my computer. We actually effectively started this chapter with 30% of our health because I ran into a card kind of tied into one of the DLC as like a little teaser for what you can purchase, and had to give 70% of our health, not our max health, thankfully, to a wounded demon in exchange for a pretty cool weapon that we don't even need for this chapter. So it's gonna be me and a couple Imperial Legionaries versus some Blight zombies. We join in the fight against the corrupted, and we can take them easily. Now the goal here, remember, is to save all the soldiers we can, so the challenge here is not defeating the corrupted. They're gonna go down like a sack of bricks. But it's going to be keeping the AI and the Legionaries safe and sound out of the way. Oh, look at that. They even give you intros for the weapons and armor. I forgot all about that. Ooh, check out the Cardinal Blade. Prepared for violence in every major direction. Oh, this game is so good, y'all. So good. And you can see the Imperial Legionaries with us. Basically, your standard, looks like kind of later Middle Ages or early Renaissance guardsmen. Thankfully, it doesn't look like the infected managed to kill any of them. So the Empire, we'll get into it a bit more when we fight them, are in many ways the exact inverse of the Northerners. They are not massive damage dealers for the most part, nor are they insanely aggressive, but across the board they have some of the best defense in the game. With the corrupted threat removed, you've ensured that these soldiers survive to aid the town's defense, so 3 more. The soldiers help you scavenge what you can from the remains of the poor souls taken by the corruption. Well, thank you for assisting me in my looting. Hey, we get a Bastion of Purification totally free, that's what I'm talking about.
A shield in more ways than one.
And we get some food, which we were running low on. Maleclipse's problem.
You must wonder if this is a tale of a hero or a villain.
You arrive at the city markets to meet with Maleclipse's associate. You find him sitting on a blanket by the sewer gates. You can't tell whether he's a goblin, a human, or an animate pile of greasy rags. A few wilted daisies and duckweed tied with rope are flopped on the ground around him. Merc, Malaclypse calls to the creature, arms outstretched. I have a favor to ask of you, my handsome friend. The greasy goblin man raises a hand to stop the bard's prattle. 10 gold first, you know that. Malaclypse looks at you expectantly. We'll give him all our gold, because it's not like we need it at this point. Malaclypse steps forward as Merc counts the coins. Merc, old bean. The bard looks furtively around before quickly waving at his shoulder. I require help in removing a certain illness. Merc considers Malaclypse for a while. That kind of information costs more than just a few coins. You splutter indignantly. I'll require a test of skill from him. He turns and points at you. Pick a flower and eat it. The greasy florist displays his meager wares. Malaclypse nods, as if this were a fair request. We'll eat the glowing purple flower, even though we probably shouldn't. The flower has a crispy, burnt texture. And oh god, that's a high target for the bones. But we hit it on our first try! Check that out! Righteous. Merc watches eagerly as you begin to choke. Malaclypse, for his part, shows some sign of concern. Your eyes bulge and water. Suddenly, someone begins slapping you hard on the back. You cough, and a hard lump falls from your mouth. It's a solid gold statue of Merc. Worth 20 gold, apparently. Malaclypse cheers while you catch your breath. Merc nods, happy with the results. He beckons Malaclypse closer. Those of us left, you should seek Ira of the Vale. She may know something of the cure. Last I heard, she's hiding out in the underneath.
Discover what the next chapter in our
All right.
tale will be.
Oh no, not her. Malaclypse straightens his neck shawl nervously. The greasy goblin man giggles maniacally. Yes, her. She'll likely eat your bones before she lets you speak. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a business to run. With that, Malaclypse's associate turns away and hurls a bouquet at a shocked passerby. Flowers! Fresh flowers! Buy 'em, or I'll eat your eyes.
They place
The stranded noble.
themselves in dire positions, and then expect a hero to come rescue them when things become too much.
While patrolling the outskirts of Westwind, you hear the clash of steel and the unmistakable groan of corrupted. Your investigation leads you to a distressed nobleman, perched on the roof of his carriage. Thank the gods! I was heading to tea with the Duke Gilbert when we were ambushed. My footman let me here to fight them off, but the brawl is now dispersed into the forest. The noble peers fearfully at the tree line. If you stay here and protect me, I can pay. Now we're gonna go after the soldiers because we need them to defend the town. 2 legionnaires against 7 zombies. We actually are gonna have to protect these guys. You rush into the forest and quickly encounter a squad of Empire soldiers battling the corrupted. 2 is hardly a squad now, friends. So yeah, we want to make sure both of these guys get out of this alive. The Cardinal Blade will be really useful in that regard. And, oh, damn, check that out, the Bastion of Purification. Looks a bit better than the Fortitude's Breath kind of grade school play-looking shield from the first game. Niall was a wildly inventive craftsman, and also quite mad. Alright, now these legionnaires do not have, shields, so we're going to need to protect them quite closely. Thankfully, Malaclypse is also going to help us. Ouch. Keep them distracted. I've been so focused on the Empire, haven't even been properly protecting myself. Oh no, one of them's dead. Oh no. Well, we don't need to rescue every single soldier, but we need to get as many as we can. Because the more soldiers we have, the more favorable an outcome we'll receive at the end of the chapter. We got a max life health tonic, and the remaining soldier surveys his dead comrades' bodies. The princeling ordered us to take him through this area despite the danger. Their blood is on his spindly, gloved hands. You explain Westwind's trouble and its need for soldiers to mount a defense. The prince can fend for himself for now. I doubt even these tainted beasts will want to be around him. Alright, food,
They got
please.
themselves into this
Captured soldiers,
I don't
more
see why
northerners.
You should get them out.
Let's fight to free them, and hopefully get some food. If we start starving, that might make this chapter a little tough, but... we've only lost one soldier so far. For this chapter, that is not bad. That's not bad at all. And our proper introduction to the warriors of the north, the Raiders. From the frozen darkness of the far north they come. Northerners can perform combo attacks. Use riposte with single-handed weapons to deal extra damage immediately after you defend. Which we shall. Prolifically. Ooh. Hit me with that unblockable attack, thank God for the shield. Let's take care of these two. And we can revive our companions if they get knocked down, as Malaclips will, frequently. So riposte has pretty tight timing, but if you can pull it off, you deal, I think, an automatic crit to whatever enemy you're deflecting. And in the case of the Northerners, who can attack 2 or sometimes even 3 times in quick succession, it allows you to whittle their health down to next to nothing after a single combo. We'll take the Soldier's Axe, or the Warrior's Axe, just so we can sell it later, basically. And 3 food, hey! Making it, if only just. So we get 2 more soldiers for a grand total of 8.
Now your chance presents itself.
We're gonna search for more recruits before we challenge the infected.
You display already.
The old maiden.
She has done rather better than I in the time that has passed.
Walking through a shady forest, you encounter a frail old maiden. She stops to greet you. For centuries, I have helped the mortals who find themselves lost in my forest. Is there anything that may help you with your journey? So this is the same exact character from Hand of Fate 1 providing the same exact service. We'll ask her for supplies. This should sustain you for a few days, she says, squinting at you with tired eyes. 3 food, that's all we need.
Reward for a job well done.
A holy man approaches and greets you warmly. Greetings, friend. You are here just as the master said you would be. My talents lie at your disposal. Have you a need for any healing? I'll always take getting topped off. Oh, and this would have replaced any health that the demon drained. I'm glad to have fulfilled my master's wish to help you this day. The man bids you farewell. And finally, another general store. Okay. Anything to buy? Got some better armor. Don't see why not.
Well, that may help you on the road ahead.
And we're good.
Another chance to redeem yourself. Let's see how you handle
8 out of 9 possible soldiers recruited for this. That's pretty good. Atop Westwind Town Hall is a large bell tower. It's used to signal the day's end for the workers in the mines and surrounding fields, but now it will summon Westwind's defenders. Do you wish to summon the soldiers you recruited? Hell yeah. As night cloaks Westwind, you can sense the corruption rising from the shadows all around you. You survey any soldiers you've managed to recruit, and indeed, they're all here! You've gathered a large group of soldiers to defend the town. Here's hoping you won't need any more. So we're up against 7 zombies and an elite of the corruption faction, or blight faction rather, the Terror. Let's try to give a rousing speech to inspire the troops. Okay. It's a Monty, so I don't know how well I'll do. Looks like 2. Yeah! Your rousing speech inspires confidence and zeal. Meaning that the Empire far more damage in combat, making them infinitely more, useful. May the gods bless you, hero! Shouts a farmer listening by the stables. He's quickly bundled back into the inn for safety. So, we get the plentiful harvest blessing. That, isn't going to be terribly useful here. but it's a nice little gold and healing blessing, I believe. Anyway, it's now us, Malaclips, and an Imperial squadron against a few Blight zombies and a Blight Terror, which we're going to learn about in just a minute, but I can promise you, as enemies go in this game, is pretty easy to handle. Oh, look at that nasty guy, the Terror of Westwind. As the final vestiges of humanity are erased, the Terror wakes. Use Bash to break the Terror's corrupted armor, and then defeat it with a finisher before it regenerates. So basically, we just have to shield bash this thing, like, a lot, and eventually it'll go down. I don't think there's much in the way of direct combat, like actually attacking with the square button we have to perform here. You just smash its armor down, and then give it a finisher or two. I'm gonna try to get rid of the other zombies first, because, as you'd imagine, being burdened by a couple 100 pounds of weird parasitic rock growing out of your flesh, this guy isn't terribly fast. First things first. You can see the armor as the gray outline around the Terror's health bar. Well, man, our Imperial soldiers are doing pretty well for themselves. And the Terror's just kinda there, lumbering around doing nothing. Let's smash it down. It will attempt to retaliate with, like, a backhand after we wear on it for long enough. Yep, dodge the attack, and then hit it with a finisher. Rinse and repeat. So, since Callus and the Empire came to power, the world of Hand of Fate has become probably a more, like, developed, quote-unquote, civilized place, but it's been no less dangerous, and in many ways, life for a whole lot of people and communities has become a whole lot worse. As this chapter kind of demonstrates, this is ostensibly an Imperial province, and they just let this happen. Or rather, Callus let this happen.
The of chaos felled by your power. Does it satisfy you? This bloodshed?
Oh, yeah.
Those you destroyed were once simple peasants, going about their day.
So that was the first Blight boss, and I don't know, I only played about halfway through the game, and the Blight as, like, central antagonists for chapters don't recur all that much up to then, so I can't say definitively, but I will say that based off of what I experienced, they're kind of the spiritual successor to the Skulls as a faction that theoretically are kind of durable and slow and come in large numbers, but in practice are just kind of easy to dispatch, even compared to the bandits. Really cool looking, though, and I love the lore surrounding them. Once the corrupted behemoth falls, the rest of the minions flee, their spirits broken. The soldiers erupt in cheers, praising your valor. MC2M says, and still in the game. Skulls are different and still in the game. Yeah, I know, like, the Skulls come back. I'm just thinking, like, as an early game faction, they kind of provide a similar experience to me as a player, anyway. Their mechanics are different. But, I don't know, you get the sense they're supposed to be more complex and difficult than the bandits. Like, respectively, each faction in each title, but they're kind of not. Once you can rest until morning, ready to greet the reinforcements with a town already saved. So we unlock the Magician.
The Magician returns to the deck, but now we only begin our stories of fate, folly, and magic. Do not think I'm satisfied with this, but at least we have a place to begin.
For saving the town of Westwind, the Ruby Ring, the Valiant Aegis, and the Winter's Bane. Man-Eating Tree, the Gnomish Exchange, the Lost Boy, Pauper Plague, and the Westwind Tavern. Oh, this is a good point. MC2M says, I think they're closer to the Golems as a faction. Yeah, they operate, or at least their elites operate kind of similarly. Kind of big, slow, tanky, have a couple area attacks. The zombies themselves don't seem to do much at all, though, so not like I'm complaining. For giving our life to save an injured Shadow Beast, we unlocked the Night Sword. And for convincing Merc to help Malaclips, we get the Underneath, so the next chapter in his personal storyline. That's a fair few tokens. And with that, we've unlocked a series of 3 different Arcana to explore.
Should you find yourself blocked or overly challenged, take the time to explore the board. Unlocking cards will give you options you have not yet considered.
So, here, we have a choice of 3 different campaigns to play through, or 3 different chapters, I should say. Oh yeah, and you can change your appearance beyond a certain point. And there's these 2 unique campaigns under Adventure. I really can't wait to see what those are about once we get the DLC tomorrow. So I think tonight we're going to play through the High Priestess and the Empress, and then probably call it. The High Priestess, as you can see, is up here in these kind of snowy mountains in the northernmost part of the map.
There is the small game, the game we play, and there is the great game, the game of life and death, the game I was once master of.
Now this is my kind of chapter. We're going to be collecting blessings in order to enter a ritual house at the summit of Mount Freitas and negotiate a treaty with the Northerners there. So, we're technically going to be working for and alongside the Northerners for this quest, in the sense that we want to appease them, we want to negotiate with them peacefully. But since they are an archetypical warrior culture and have extremely high standards for honor and valor, they're going to put us to the test and, as a result, constantly be challenging us to fights. So, we need to collect blessings as many different ways as we possibly can in order to increase our chances of things going well when we finally make it to both the summit of the mountain and the diplomatic summit held there. And since it's a freezing cold mountain we're climbing, we're going to have to find camps to sit by to restore our health and warm ourselves by the fire. Oh, we get certain supplies that we could take with us, and in this case, the Night Sword is all that's available to us. Alright, I mean, I'll take it. No complaints here. Let's put together a recommended deck and then change it up a bit. Equipment, what do we have? The Valiant Aegis, Cardinal Blade, Bastion of Purification. In place of the Ruby Ring, I'm going to put in the Winter's Bane, just because I think it'll be useful against the Northerners. It's my thought, anyway. And encounters. We have the next Malaclips quest, the Gnomish Exchange, a card I remember quite liking, the Tavern, Tarts, Pies, and Exotic Lies, the arm wrestling contest, and let's see, let's not do Market Thief quite yet. Let's handle the Lost Boy card to earn a shard. And we'll put that in place of, honestly, of the Old Maiden. This may be dangerous given this particular map, but I want to unlock some tokens, which generally are a little bit tougher to do in Hand of Fate 2 because there are so many chapter-specific cards.
You find yourself once again in the company of prayer and religion. How unfortunate.
So 2 tokens are at stake here.
Negotiations on behalf of the Empire. We will see how that story ends.
Malaclips has somehow roped you into traveling deep into the far north on a diplomatic mission. While I usually refrain from working for the Empire, since this one takes me further away from it, I've made an exception. It'll square my debt with General Brandstrom and help open many doors for you. What do you say? Let's ask about the mission. General Brandstrom instructed me not to come back until I talked to the High Priestess of the North and offer the terms of the treaty, he explains. Will you join me? Ask how we can help. As you know, I have a great many skills, but my swordsmanship is unlikely to hold up against northern raiders. I know no one else who is more up to the task. There are many clans dotted around, but the supposed leader of them all is the High Priestess, who lives up there. Malaclypse points to the top of the soaring mountain before you. Yeah, we'll join. Excellent! Bring your sword and let me do the talking, says Malaclypse. I brought plenty of supplies so we can set up camp when we get hungry. Oh, that is a ton of food, and that, dear friends, I suppose is one of those platinum cards, or a very, very lucky, or, favorable card. I believe I now remember brimstone cards being the opposite, like very unfortunate or hard as hell challenges that give you certain benefits if you manage to tough them out. Malaclypse shares a tidbit as you commence your journey. The High Priestess is quite partial to blessings. If you could prove yourself worthy, we'd have a better chance at swaying her in our favor. Access the campfire at any time between encounters, and there we can consume food to restore life, or we can trade our equipment out. Right on. And we need at least 6 blessings before we meet her. We grit our teeth and prepare to brave the ascent. A blizzard. Not the best. With little warning, a snowstorm sweeps in from the north. The snow whips against you like shards of glass and obscures your vision. We struggle to find cover. Let's see. What are we looking at? Failure, aw damn. The climb becomes unbearable. We see respite in a cave. And we rouse a bear and take damage. We ain't making camp yet, kids. The Gnomish Exchange.
My loathing for gnomes and my despair that the world is becoming less strange and arcane as the Empire spreads.
You trespass on Gnomish ground, humans! A voice calls out as a dozen small creatures leap from the trees around you. The penalty for this transgression is death. Make peace with your gods, and we're being attacked by gnomes. Lovely. This chapter's already off to a rousing great start, hey? I'm certain I fought these guys before, I just don't remember. Maybe not. Oh dear. No, I don't think these guys were in the game at launch. Not like this, anyway. I could be wrong and just never ran into them somehow, or forgot entirely. Fiercely territorial. Trespass in gnomish lands and face the consequences. Pesky, persistent, and impossible to hit, gnomes cause snare. Evade to avoid or struggle to break free. Gnomes can only be deterred with a finisher. And they're technically a boss. Lovely. So we finish gnomes by just punting them. Alright. I can dig it. They're not even really using those little spears, I guess, until they get me down. They're just diving at me. Oh, this is the best. Boss defeated? That was, interesting. The battered gnomes pick themselves up from the battlefield and approach you, cautiously. Alright, the penalty for this transgression is no longer death. We'd like to parley. We seek arms to defend ourselves, a gnome declares loudly. Hand over some of your equipment and we'll release you. We can even pay you something. I'll give you some food for a helmet, one of the small folk exclaims. I'll share the secrets of this land for a ring. Give me a weapon I can wield, one for my brother, we've got gold. I can give them the knight's sword, and in fact I'm gonna try to get the token. They were added in a free DLC, MC2M. Nice. It's a fun little fight. You surrender the equipment to the gnomes. Satisfied, they offer payment in return. Oh, a lot of gold. A lot of gold. The toothless gnome looks perplexed. A mighty war machine, to be sure, but however will we wield it? He turns to his brother, and together with the other gnomes, they heave the weapon into the bushes and out of sight, and we don't get the token. Yeah, that's a thing in this game.
Awaits us all. Nature, truly wild nature, will not tolerate fury in its domain, unless it is its own.
High up on the mountain, you see the silhouette of a man approaching through the heavy snow. He bellows through the roaring wind. Who dares trespass in the sacred grounds of our priestess? Hidden raiders spring down the mountain with the dexterity of mountain goats. So it's us against 3 raiders. And then, of course, we have to contend with the avalanche, which means more chance games, more opportunities to bungle this whole thing. Glad to see everybody here is dressed for the season. We're down to our kind of crappy starting sword, but it's alright. We can take these guys. And straight off the mountain. Yeah. MC2M says, Gnomes have another fun encounter with the Outlands and Outsider DLC. This is the free sample for that one. Lovely. Definitely gonna buy that DLC later tonight. And we got the Winter's Bane. Great. Perform a powerful strike after 9 combo hits that causes knockdown to Northerners. And deals additional damage to them with ripostes and the like. Definitely taking that. And additional food. The clash of steel rings out, echoing through the peaks. The mountains answer with a low, ominous rumble as a wall of white rushes toward the melee, sweeping away everything in its path. Okay. We made our target with the dice. You seek shelter against a bluff, pressing close to the rock face as the avalanche roars overhead. When the trembling stops, you are miraculously unscathed. Your assailant's weapon juts from the snow. As you near, you realize it is still clenched in his hand, his body buried to the wrist by the avalanche. Now we want blessings, so we're gonna dig this guy out. You brave the cold and free the raider from his icy grave. He takes a moment to catch his breath and says, "You saved me, though we are enemies by blood. Take my blessing and leave me to my thoughts." We gain a resource called Fame and the Raider's Penance. The first hit in combat against Northerners deals a 50 bonus damage. Yikes. Another blizzard. Oh dear.
Women hold these mountains together, even through the worst.
Oh, more cards. Great. Again? Really? Okay, so we're mauled by another bear. Yay. And another avalanche.
The very lands beneath your feet.
More raiders, another chance to get a blessing, I think, if we get it right.
With surprises.
And now we get to see the Winter's Bane, which looks really cool on the illustration. So, oh yeah. Yeah, this thing is gnarly. Used to defend those in need. Well, we're in need. Oh yeah, that Raider's Regret is going to be one powerful blessing for this chapter. And there we go. Now, the basic Northerners are really aggressive, the Raiders, that is. But they're not terribly difficult to deal with. Certainly more so than the thieves and the zombies, I find. Better shield and some life. But they become really, really dangerous when they're backed up by the faction's elites. Alright. Let's re-roll. Hope and pray, folks. Yay! Same exact thing, dig him out. Get another blessing. Allies return. Revive our companion at the beginning of each new map. Can be helpful.
The mountain
Ascension.
pushes you back.
A sudden blizzard slows your progress through Mount Freitas. The bitter winds pierce your skin like shards of glass. Well, up we go.
Witches I will tolerate. They have at least stepped into the streams of power that magicians call home.
As you ascend the snowy Mount Freitas, you happen upon a cottage with pungent smoke wafting out of the chimney. A frail old lady sweeping snow off the path beckons you to come in. "We've come in search of the great High Priestess to deliver an important message," says Malaclips. "You'd better go bearing blessings if you want to get on the High Priestess's good side. I'm fixing a batch right now if you'd like a taste. If I've got it right this time, you can take it to her," she says, stirring the cauldron. Malaclips politely declines. "I've been watching what I eat, but my companion here has an insatiable appetite," he says, nudging you forward. Alright. Divine Intervention, there we go. So after all of our rerolls are used up in a dice gambit, and I assume if we need more points, it'll automatically allow us to reroll our lowest dice. Great. Now, something awesome about this game is there are way more blessings and pieces of equipment and ways that partners can interact with the games of chance to tip them in your favor. Meaning, there's a deeper level of skill and strategy to the way you approach each chapter and its challenges than there was in the first game. So, again, big points to the developers for adding in a greater measure of skill to the game, or allowing for a greater measure of skill, and kind of minimizing some of the pure luck that was involved in Hand of Fate 1. You take a sip of the aromatic potion and feel a warm, fuzzy feeling flowing through your body. "Looks like my recipe is a success. I'm sure the High Priestess will appreciate this one." You thank the old lady and continue up Mount Freitas, paying no heed to the brewing blizzard. Speaking of, it's the damn blizzard again. Time to get mauled by a bear, y'all. Huge failure, yay! Oh. It's both of the Berserker or Barbarian elites I can remember. Joy. So 3 times we've run into the blizzard, and I have not drawn the correct gambit a single time. So we'll be dealing with a Frost Berserker and a Frost Trapper here. The Trapper is a ranged unit that can incapacitate you. The Berserkers are fueled with rage and determined to destroy. Their weapons are imbued with ice that slows enemies' movement and attacks. So a lot of elites we'll have to deal with here. Going to try to get rid of the trappers first. Unless, of course, one of them just begs to be dealt with. Yeah, if you've got a one-handed weapon, you can riposte the hell out of these guys. Maybe we'll get some loot out of this at least, as like a little blessing in disguise. There we go. Got him. I would love to succeed on one of these Blizzard events, but I get the feeling that's just not going to happen tonight. We really need to unlock the companion that gives you a boost on standard 4-card Monty, because the rest of these events are kind of manageable. We got some food, at least. I'll take that.
Children.
The Lost Boy.
It's hard to conceive that either of us were ever such.
He's just a small child you overhear. A deeper voice growls. We have to take him to the dungeons, or else he'll run straight to whatever northern clan he's spawned from and show him where our outpost is. That's a shifty-looking kid. I wouldn't trust him as far as I could throw him, says Malaclips. You consider the boy's fate. I'm gonna save him, of course. And this time we're fighting the Empire. The standard legionnaires we saw back in the Magician chapter, as well as one of their elite units, Musketeers. Basically just the muskets from the Skulls, or Court of Skulls in Hand of Fate 1. These guys go down pretty easily, and the Empire as a whole I don't personally find too threatening. And it's a chance to do some good and save an innocent child. One thing I really love about the world of Hand of Fate 2 is, like, the society and politics of it are surprisingly complex. Depending on the chapter and circumstances, factions like the Northerners, the Empire, even the Thieves, I believe, will be allies or enemies. So you get to really explore this world from a variety of different angles. So the basic soldiers of the Empire are these Watchmen legionnaires, taken from the dregs of society and elevated to petty positions of power. Watchmen can block, greatly reducing incoming damage. Use your bash to open them up. So yeah, defense is kind of the Empire's bag, and we're going to be seeing that in this combat. We want to take out the Musketeers first, of course. On their own, the Musketeers are, well, kind of pathetic, really. The Watch, on the other hand, can hold their own. Not terribly well, mind you, but they can. Get him! MC2M says, and to extend on that, the challenges you resolve reference each other. Yeah, they do. So you're kind of like really a mercenary adventurer moving through this world and taking contracts or getting into different involvement with the different factions as you go. So in this one, we're technically, in a very disjoint way, working for the Empire, but also working alongside the Northerners, who are slowly warming up to us. As you check on the unconscious guards, you notice the boy looking at you warily, as if sizing you up. Okay, let's see if we can't do this. Just have to re-roll this one. Oh god. There we go. He fiddles with a dried plant hung around his neck nervously. Okay, I will tell you. There was an Empire ambush on our village and I ran with Mother. We got separated. He wiped some tears from his face angrily. But I'm not afraid. I'm of Clan Catsfoot, and we are great pathfinders. I will find my way home. And he tells us what he knows of the area, so the map. There we go. Small northerner boy refuses any and all help. You can only wish him luck, as his small form disappears into the forest. And we earn the shard. The next round of the arm wrestling tournament has come.
Strong, clever, wise. The circumstances under which you come here put the lie to that.
You enter a competition of strength at a fair. Once again, in the second round of the competition, you sit opposite the aged frame of Huntley Toothless. He boasts about once being a silencer for the Thieves Guild. First go, very good. Huntley crumples in defeat almost instantly. You're lucky I'm not 20 or 30 years younger, he says, grumbling. And we earn 20 gold from our travails. Still not quite done with that encounter, but getting there. The Temple Prayers.
Crumbled into the dust, more's the pity.
The Temple of Divine Providence provides blessings in exchange for a simple gold donation. Well, since we have 65, we can afford the 6. And which one do we want? We want Guardian Angel, that allows us to retry any chance card. Gambit. And we get the next round of Maleclipse's story here, the Underneath. Following Maleclipse's cryptic directions, many of which involve borrowing farm animals, you arrive at the edge of a vast and lonely lake. There, you uncover a cave entrance blocked by a stone door. We must seek out Ira of the Vale in the underneath, the bard has explained, as you followed a frightened cow around the previous night. Ask why he's seeking her. Malaclips drops his wine bottle nervously and forces a loud and hearty laugh, completely ignoring your question. The bespectacled ogre manning the door to the underneath doesn't look up from his book as you approach. 15 food items per entry, he grunts. Malaclips scoffs. Robbery! If you're trying to hustle us, sir, I'll have you know that I can shoot lightning from my fingertips. The doorkeeper sighs. Times are hard for us, Mal. You'll see when you get in there. I'll pay 15 pieces of food because we got so much. The ogre places his book down, and with a mighty push, the stone door rolls open. A narrow tunnel takes you deep below the earth, opening into a vast limestone cavern. Twinkling on the edge of an underground lake lies a small shanty town, red lanterns lining the quiet streets. Malaclips leads on. Welcome to the underneath, coin slave. Since that bothersome Empire edict, we've had to hide away in places like this. This used to be quite the hub of activity, but now, he surveys the silent streets grimly. I guess the Empire is increasing its forces. Few mages eye you suspiciously as they pass by. Let's peruse the stores. Among the abandoned stalls you find an ancient-looking shop front. Through red lantern light you read Lee Lot's oddments, used stones, directions. There's also curses, blessings. Let's check that one out. More blessings, hopefully. Oh no, she'll take my blessings away. We don't want that. Let's go into Lee Lot's oddments. Oh, this guy's expanding the map. Sorry, I'm not reading this. There's just a lot to read. Leelot peers at the map, dusting parts with his shaking, freckled hands. No blood will be shed around these parts today. A terrible shame. Let's ask him about stones. What would you like to buy? Everything is 20 gold apiece. 20 gold for a stone. I'll take one. I mean... Oh no. We will redraw. There we go. Got it. Leelot hands you rough, cream-colored stone flecked with purple crystals. That's edible, you know, he croaks. The purple part tastes like pies and sunshine. The rock part doesn't taste quite as good. Hey, it's almost all the food we got back, so that's about it. We can leave now. Let's enter the Devil's Ears Tavern. Malaclips breathes in the heady scent of berry wine, smoke, and feathers. Ah, the Devil's Ears, my home away from home. He pulls out his lute and leaves to serenade the pretty bartender. She tries her best to ignore him. You survey the bar. A group of burly ogres crowds a too-small table. Meanwhile, a giant fleshy eyeball floats somberly by the windows. Let's talk to the ogres. The ogres are arguing jovially about winnings. They seem to be caught up in some kind of dice gambling game. Let's ask about the rules. He wishes for the rules, does he? An ogre slaps another on the back, guffawing. No rules. Just roll the dice. If the dice is bigger than a number I choose, you win. An older ogre clears his throat. You might want to know, Sellsword, that we're playing for blessings. I definitely would. Let's start off by buying them a round of mead. And that reduces the target of the next dice gambit by 2. As the ogres sink their drinks, they warm to you. Yeah, let's ask to play. The largest ogre throws you the dice and pulls out a shimmering scroll containing the blessing you're playing for. Divine Providence, again. It's a blessing we already have, so note that it isn't very fair. I'm gonna try liquoring them up one more time to make it a bit easier. Yeah, let's Let's go for it. Oh, it's a different blessing, both to do with dice. It's probably isn't the safest idea, but... Oh, come on, baby. Yay! Made it! Money well spent, then. With drink placating them, thankfully, the ogres do not protest their loss with violence, and we get allies' return back as well as divine providence that adds 2 to each of our dice during dice gambits. Yo! That's sick. We're good. We'll just leave them be and approach the floating eye. The creature watches you approach with interest. A smile breaks out in the knotted flesh at its base. Would you care to dance, small one? It asks solemnly. Let's, ask what it is. The creature chuckles, and the fleshy tendrils on its underbelly shake heartily. The creature's eye is so large that it is difficult to tell whether it is looking at you or somewhere behind you. Let's ask to trade. This is an item that I kept from the last warrior I ate. It regurgitates an item onto the floor with a clatter, just a regular shield. What would you offer in return? Nothing? Nothing? I'd rather offer nothing? I guess I'll give up this shield for a worse shield. And we just have to take the trade. Okay, that's not great, but... let's leave it be, because I'm afraid of what it'll do to us. Let's leave the tavern and go find Ira. Malaclypse leads the way through the dim, lonely streets to Ira's house. You can hear screaming coming from within. A woman in robes adorned with silver ornaments greets you at the door. Merc said you would come begging for help. Regardless, you are late. Malaclypse bows with a grin. I have an illness. I'm hoping to purchase a cure. Ira the Veil frowns for a bit before nodding and letting you into her house. You enter the sitting room, and the source of the wailing is made clear. A man is locked in a cage, crying in fevered agony. Sores of corruption fester on his body. Without warning, she opens the cage and the man rushes at you, but with surprising strength, Ira subdues the mad, writhing creature. This is the mage Cohen. He thought he could fight off the corruption, but he could not. Ira watches Malaclypse carefully as Cohen's cries get more and more guttural. What should I do with him? The bard looks away, disgust and fear on his face. He appears close to passing out. She nods before turning to you. What will you do? Guys, I honestly don't know here. My thought is we might have to kill him because there's no cure for the corruption that we're aware of. Or, since Malaclypse is here for a cure for some disease, we, let him live to perhaps receive some kind of treatment later? I've no idea. Thoughts? Feelings? Suggestions? What should I do? As I said, I'm tempted to say one, but I don't know. You'll remain silent on this one. I mean, I guess we have no choice. As Ira holds him down, you end the mage's life. With that dealt with, Ira begins tinkering at a table strewn with dead and shiny things. I do have a cure, but as you know, nothing comes free with our kind. She taps silver dust from a bottle. Save the stolen mage children from me, and I'll give you the cure. And we get the token. Nice and neat. Those Empire bastards have taken them to some walled fort in the docks of the city. And you'd better hurry. Ira smiles at Malaclypse. That illness can't be held at bay for much longer, I'd wager. The bard avoids her gaze. Let's ask how she knows him. He was my lover when I was young and stupid, Ira says matter-of-factly. Nonsense, Malaclypse shouts. Why, I'm alluring at all ages. You'd be glad to have me still. Ira gives Malaclypse a severe look and he balks, cowering in his seat. Ask about the illness. Ira laughs. He hasn't told you? Then it's not my place to say. But know this, friend of Malaclypse. If he doesn't find a cure soon, you are in grave danger. Oh, MC2M says kill him or sparing him makes no difference, but is a player moral choice. I was just worried that if I chose to spare him, which is typically the way I like to operate in games that offer such choices, the non-violent kind of, like, hopefully peaceful resolution, I was afraid that he may turn on and kill Ira or something like that down the road. But good to know. Nonsense, Malaclip stands, unstoppering a wine bottle nervously. Malaclip seems eager to leave. I think we're good. Ira the Veil finds you again just as you begin your ascent. Mal? The bard turns around. You catch a glimpse of hope in his eyes. She avoids his gaze. Take the children to the madmen near Forstford. They run an orphanage. I fear it's no longer safe here. You know, not ominous at all. Oh, look! No food is consumed by revisiting, like, tiles we've already experienced. That's neat. What can we buy here? We can buy back the old sword, but I don't think that's worth it. No, I don't think any of this is worth it. Because we may get the opportunity to buy more blessings.
Will you push on, despite nature?
And up we go once again.
To thwart you. Old witches. I have a fondness for them, but I would not trust them.
Further up the mountain, the blizzard becomes so intense you barely see the tiny cottage engulfed in snow. An old lady beckons you in. I've received word from my sister's hawk and have been expecting you. I may not be as skilled as her, but this blessing potion I've whipped up is my best yet. Do you think it's good enough to take to the High Priestess? She says, blowing the steam off a simmering bowl of thick liquid. I really couldn't, says Malaclips, patting his belly. Okay, what do we got? Second wind, I'll take it. In combat, boost life to 75 when it drops below 25, one time only. This is a transient blessing, meaning it is a limited use item. Not that it matters, as long as it stays nice and neat in our deck until we meet with the priestess. And the similar conclusion to the first time we triggered that event. Temple prayers again. Yeah, let's buy another blessing.
Go about your day.
Gambler's Banquet. Receive 2 food after every dice gambit, I guess regardless of outcome. Receive life for every gold gain card. If max life is less than 150, we may discard food gain or equipment gain cards to receive max life. That sounds really useful. And gain up to 20 gold at the beginning of a new map if we have less than 20 gold to begin with. I think for this one, I'll go with Gold Zealot. Because we got so much food that Gambler's Banquet doesn't really matter. You leave with your new blessing. Oh, Christ, not again. Every time. Every time. Hey, success for once. Oh, and it's just a nice, peaceful transition this time. And another blizzard. Yay. I mean, it's thematically appropriate to the map, yes, but... failure, so we get mauled by the bear again. These blizzard cards have been way more dangerous than any of the actual encounters we found.
Since I've returned to this world, I've been disappointed. The filth, the shame, the horrors dwell in the minds of men, not in the monsters in the darkness.
Westwind's only tavern, the Rusty Razor, is a safe harbor among the many dangers of the outer reaches of the Empire. Its barkeep sits outside his establishment with a look of resigned defeat. Upon your arrival, he jolts straight up and a smile almost breaks out across his face. At last, someone from the guild is here. These Empire soldiers have almost ruined me. Before you can disagree, the owner swings open the saloon doors and pushes you inside. Oh, and there's another Empire elite, along with the musket men. Inside, you would discover a handful of Empire soldiers enjoying ale rather than doing their duty. The freshly invigorated barkeep hops onto a table and shouts above the noise, "You lazy, drunken deserters are done. The Stewards Guild has sent an enforcer here, and now you're all going to have to get back to your posts. This town needs defending." One of the soldiers rises with a slight sway. "We got 3 days till our shift ends and we return to civilization, so we're not doing any fighting unless they threaten the supply of ale, right, lads?" A raucous cheer erupts and beer tankards smash together all around. "So why don't you take your shiny Sun King badge and shove off?" The barkeep turns to you. "What are you going to do?" "I'm going to threaten him, of course. I want to fight." You suggest with menace that the soldiers should report to duty or they'll report to the healer. I'll try to redraw, but I don't think it matters as long as we get rid of them somehow. Yeah. So we're gonna fight them, no big deal. The Steel Phalanx is just an even more defensively minded unit that carries like a tower shield and a spear. They're not that threatening, though. Soldier. The expansion of the Empire requires constant conscription of new blood. Soldiers block all attacks, greatly reducing their damage. So, as opposed to the Guardmen that block some attacks, these guys block everything unless they're stunned. Or you attack them from behind, I think. But either way, they're not that bad. Oh, we can deflect the bullets. Lovely. They're not even as bad as the Skull Musketeers, then. Come on now. There we go. Get him. Oh, this is a much nicer tavern than the one from the first game. There we go. Malaclypse does a great job of keeping enemies distracted, so kudos to him for that. And down they go. Didn't take a single hit. Nice. And we get some equipment. In this case, I'll take the Valiant Aegis. Every third step doesn't consume food, so just like Fortitude's Breath from the first one, except defending with the shield adds 1 to our like little combo counter / weapon charge thing. It has way less defense than the shield, but I'm gonna take it. As the soldiers fall under yet another blow from your weapon, the leader shouts out, "Stop! Alright, we'll do our part. Just stop cracking our skulls." Token earned. Nice. Tarts, pies, and exotic lies.
Even I stand by this rule, and I have respect for few.
You chance upon a wooden cart, overflowing with pears, pies, and many other items otherwise. A wonderful smell wafts from the cart. Malaclypse shakes his head. Poor old Chester. This is why you should never be seduced by the wiles of women, coin slave. They'll break your heart and leave you selling your lemon tarts with little business sense. The old farmer hawks his wares to passers-by. Tarts, pies, and exotic fruits. Chester gives you a jolly wave. What would you like to buy on this fine morning? I'll buy the exotic fruits. Chester passes you a bag of what appears to be pebbles. He insists they are fruits from the desert lands, encouraging you to bite into one. Inside is a soft, spongy flesh that tastes of blackberry. Chester smiles at the exotic fruits for a while, as if remembering a happy memory, before he finally decides on a price. $10 gold? Yeah, I'll take it. Well, no, for that food, Yeah, why not? Just a nice little way to top up your food supply more often than not. And we finally arrived at the summit.
Are you ready to face the priestess of her people and drive the deal the Empire has
With more blessings than we needed.
Turn and flee.
The winds clear the dark clouds to reveal the spire of a ritual house protruding from the summit. You press on through thick snow to find the wooden structure adorned with spoils of war. We'll enter. As you enter the great hall, the towering arched doors swing open with a heavy creak. A giantess in a velvet robe enters, accompanied by raiders. Malaclips bows low to the ground. My companion and I have been sent forth to discuss a truce between the Empire and Northerners, my lady. So, they send me a silver-tongued devil and his mercenary? She smirks. I hope for your sake you have a decent offering. And we kneel. Your offering will suffice, says the giantess. But if you seek to make a deal on behalf of the Empire, you must prove yourself against my champion. So it's just a slightly tougher version of what we encountered when we critically failed the Blizzard event earlier. Berserker, or a Berserker, backed up by a cohort of trappers. Once the trappers are dealt with, this shouldn't be too bad. Boss fight time. Berserker Champion. Fierce, loyal, and relentless. Champion of the High Priestess. Alright, let's get after it. Alright. The champion isn't exactly too active here, is he? Oh, here he comes. There we go. Now the trappers aren't too tough once you get them in melee range. They have a single very weak attack. And I think that's about it. And this guy's just about done. Ooh, unblockable attack. Good thing we had the shield. And game. Our third boss banished, and I think actually the only one that's landed a hit on us so far has been... No, none of the bosses so far have landed a hit on us, but the only one in whose encounter we took damage, I should say, was the Anarchist. You've done well. Now hear my terms. The High Priestess draws herself up, a towering figure draped in fur and wrath. The North will never bend to an empire. Blood for blood for blood. Those are my terms, small one. Let your leaders hear it and quake. With that, you make a quick descent to relay the message back to General Brandstrom. Well, we did our job, at least. And unlocked the following. The Humble Hammer, perhaps later to be reforged into Huge Hammer, I hope. The Berserker's Creed Armor and the Extinguisher. The Winter Solstice, Burning Building, Temple Prayers, and the Cartographer. We definitely want Temple Prayers in our deck, round the clock. It allows us to buy a blessing from a menu, as we've seen. And we get additional supplies. So, items we can choose from the supply deck. Extra food, a warrior's axe, and the sword. For gaining favor with the High Priestess by meeting the blessing requirement, we get the Dark Grove Ring and the Shrine Platinum card. Very, very nice. For convincing Ira to help Malaclips, we've unlocked the Stolen Ones, definitely going in the deck. For clearing out the Rusty Razor, we found the Friendly Innkeeper encounter. And take aim and uncover what lurks in Iron Peak, with Rana's Remarkable Fishing and Unrest in Iron Peak. MC2M says, did you share our message for peace? They said no. Yeah, the Northerners if I'm correct, I've only played about halfway through the game, so I could be wrong. They will, much like the Empire, consistently be encountered as, like, adversaries in, like, individual combats. But as we get closer and closer to the seat of the Empire, they're going to become more and more friendly to us as a whole. So, like, as the story progresses. And finally, for tonight, ladies and gents, we're going to take on the Empress right after a quick little 5-minute break. I'll be right back. Don't go anywhere.
I cannot wait here forever. Make a choice.
Alright, and we are back. One more chapter for tonight's stream, and then I'm going to try to purchase all of the DLC in advance of tomorrow's stream so that we can check out some of, well, the new content that's been alluded to in the little teaser quests we've seen. Both fighting off the gremlins, or gnomes, rather gremlin-ish looking gnomes, and, the demon quest line, feeding the demon, both of which are actually pretty intriguing to me, so I can't wait to see more. But tonight we're going to finish off by taking on the Empress. I honestly don't remember which quest most of these are, if that makes sense. Most of these chapters are, by the title alone, but I definitely will once we see the mechanics.
This game is merely the lesser game. It is not the true game of life and death.
Oh, this one.
My model of it. I must prepare you for the challenges you will face when we meet Callus in truth.
So, once again, we're going to be going against the, Northerners, but this time in earnest, as they serve as the primary antagonistic force here. We're not just going to be fighting them in little, honor-based duels. Earn fame in order to wield the legendary weapon Hretha's Ire. Villages on the northern outskirts are under assault from northern raiders. Defeat the mighty shaman who is leading their raids. So, again, Northerners will be our enemies here, and our goal here is to accrue fame, a unique resource introduced in this game that you may have noticed we accumulated steadily over the last couple of chapters but didn't really do anything with. Fame is just that, our notoriety as a hero or a warrior of some renown. We're going to stick with Malaclips because we got nothing else. Gonna take the recommended deck and then play with it a little. They recommend the Soldier's Sword, I don't. Well, let's see. No, Soldier's Sword is probably the best we got. Okay. Okay, so, because the Night Sword does the same thing but with a bonus against demons that I don't think we'll be seeing much of, as we don't have the requisite DLC yet. Extinguisher. Okay, so tell you what, instead of this shield, let's take the Berserker's Creed armor. There we go. And encounters, we've got the Shrine, which is very good, we want that. We don't need the Lost Boy. We don't need a Fiend in Need. Burning Building's kind of an interesting, if difficult one. We'll take the new Malaclips card. Instead of Distressed Damsel, we'll hold on. Any of these have to do with fame specifically? I know this one does, I believe. Unrest in Iron Peak, that's new to me. I think it might have been free LC. We'll take the Pauper Plague. A Peasant's Son, just anything that sounds like it might give us fame. And Rana's Remarkable Fishing. This could go well, this could go very, very poorly. I think that's a decent deck for this. Let's begin.
In this case, the Empress is a symbol, a leader of the northern clans, but not their only one. Now we come to one of the new nuances of our game. The hunt for fame and esteem would not work for all players, but it works for you. I can sense it in you. Your pride, your skill. In time, we'll learn all of you.
Raiders have destroyed our village, the Elder of Talos explains in a hushed voice. They were sent by a dark shaman of the north. They were searching for this. He draws a large warhammer from his cloak. Hretha's Ire. 'Tis the only weapon that will break the seal protecting their encampment. He hands you the weapon. Folks, I think we just found Son of Huge Hammer. Oh, I remember this one. It's great. In fact, it has the same special ability as Huge Hammer. Deals additional damage to armor. Right on, right on. The weapon is heavier than you imagined, perhaps weighed down by some hidden magic, preventing you from wielding it to its potential. The Elder looks straight at your eyes, as though peering into your soul. Not all weapons are for all men. Only those who have demonstrated great acts of valor and courage may bear Hretha's ire. You do well to remember that. Let's see. Ask what we have to do. You must find the courage to wield this weapon and defeat the shaman before the 5th village falls. The villages need a hero. The town of Braden is surely in danger and must be warned. Along the King's Road. Ask how to use it. Great artifacts require great heroes, he explains. Never turn down the opportunity to aid others. Seek out greatness, and you will be rewarded. Ask about the shaman. A twisted creature with great power. Never seen on the battlefield, but I hear she commands her warriors from her camp in the forest to the east. We sent our warriors to find her, but a magical barrier prevents anyone from entering her sanctum. It is said that Hretha's ire can break through such a barrier. If she were attacked at her camp, these raids could surely be stopped for good. The Elder scowls. Empire? What good is the Empire? Not but tax collectors and carrion crows. 6 raids here this year, and not a soldier to be seen. So much for protection. They're less reliable than the worst of the gods. And we're ready. Thank you. I trust the sacrifice of Talos not go in vain. He bows his head. May the gods give you good fortune. And from the bat, we have a raider ambush.
It's their time to bait their trap.
A rustling behind you
Lest they put you in your place.
is all the warning you get that your life is in danger. You turn as the cords of a northern bola wrap around your body. A party of northerners charges at you as you break free. So, trappers and raiders. But an opportunity to earn fame, perhaps, for defeating them? Trapper. On the frozen plains, prey are few and far between. The keen eyes of a trapper see all. Trappers throw hunting traps that snare their targets. Use evade to avoid the traps, or change direction rapidly to break free. Hey, MC2M, how's that Grimrock run coming along? Finding any luck? That is technically true. I have killed better. Oof. Actually got me with that one. 1, 2. Got him. Oh, just got the final boss? Congratulations, man. And there's some kind of secret super boss? I take it it's much, much harder than the standard final boss, right? That's usually the way these things work. And we get 2 fame. Let's search for spoils. Hey, 10 food. Nice.
Time passes.
Unrest in Iron Peak.
The advances of the Empire march on, and mystery and magic falls further into darkness. Yet death stalks the streets of the city.
Yeah, and you're playing in hard mode. Ooh. Well, best of luck to you, man. That's... If it's like a traditional, like, first-person dungeon crawler, as I believe that series is, a secret boss on hard mode is going to be no friggin' joke, so... You know, luck be with you. Well, skill too, of course. A pall of smog casts the city in a dull gray light as you navigate the narrow streets and back alleys of Iron Peak. Beware the Prince of Poisons! calls a young boy in a short-brimmed cap as he hands out leaflets to the passing crowds. You stop to read a discarded parchment sodden by the damp that clings to the cobblestones. Prince of Poisons strikes again. Another mass poisoning in the back streets of Lowtown. Mayor raises reward to 500 gold. The boy approaches as you finish reading. If you really hope to be safe, you best protect yourself. I have just the thing, and at a bargain price. Let's ask about the Prince of Poisons. He's the one responsible for all the killing that's going on, the child exclaims, wide-eyed. Dozens, if not hundreds, of innocent people dead, all poisoned by the prince. So another DLC quest line, I believe. He strikes at random, anywhere in the city and at any time. Just drops one of his canisters and half the street's dead before anyone knows what's happening. If you really hope to be safe, you best protect yourself. Yeah, ask about the children in the alley. The boy looks over to where you're pointing. Most of them lost their parents to poison and live on the streets now. The boy shakes his head in pity, saying, Came from a good home, some of them. They won't last on the street. Don't even know what street corners are best to beg at. I'll offer them some food. The children, dressed in clothes once embellished with silver buttons and lace, but now torn and coated with soot, swarm around as you approach with food in hand. I'll give them the tin food we just got. That's worthy, right? A dozen filthy hands tear the offered morsels to shreds as the children scramble for what they can get. We got 8 fame, that's the way. A boy from the street corner runs into the alleyway, gasping in surprise. I've never seen anyone give away so much food. More filthy children appear from the shadows, but suddenly an armed man sprints into the alley, knocking several children to the ground. He pauses to swear and glances back the way he came. A silver-haired lady, clearly dressed for combat and sporting an array of weapons, stands silhouetted at the end of the alley. Running is pointless, Mad-Eye, she says matter-of-factly. Mad-Eye draws his weapon as the children scatter. I'm not going back to prison, he yells in defiance. Well, we're going to help the woman. The hunter. Somebody added with the DLC, I guess, because this is a companion not present in the original game, I don't think. This one's mine, the woman tells you as you draw your weapon. More armed men suddenly rush into the alleyway. Mad-Eye, one of them calls. We won't let her take you. Interesting, a brand new companion. Whether or not I use her extensively all depends on what bonus she can offer to my gambits. A Cold Hearth DLC preview? Nice. Oh, check that out, she's got a blunderbuss. Katura. You will find no charity here. When activated, Katura fires her back-holstered weapon and causes high damage to enemies in range. Stay close to her to charge her ability faster. Alright.
Nothing like the smell of gunpowder.
Malaclips, help. I don't trust myself to dodge blows. So luckily, getting a riposte effectively stops the, Oop, here we go. Oh, she does good work. But getting a riposte on the thugs will stop their 2-hit combo in its tracks, it looks like. It's good to know. They're not like the Northern Raiders who can just tough through anything. Or I could be wrong, but that's what it looked like there. The silver-haired woman immediately rushes forward to stand over Mad-Eye, declaring, I'm taking this lowlife in and getting the payment. As formidable as the woman looks, you turn to search the other fallen men before leaving the alleyway. Equipment. Humble hammer and the extinguisher. Less fire damage. And, a weapon that deals less damage the more fame we have. So this actually sounds like it would work pretty well in conjunction with Threth's Ire, as it's going to be dealing less and less damage as we get closer and closer to the target. And it's got a slam. Yeah, I'll try it out. It deals way more damage right now.
The beginning of power.
Gold. You leave the troubled town of Iron Peak with the impression that you've not yet seen all that it has to offer, so we have to keep going back to experience those different, events. Oh, the market thief again. Gotta try to track him down. Regular success, which is fine. We don't get the token, but we do get our gold back. No harm, no foul. General store, we're gonna buy some food. And that should do it. Anything we can sell? Not really. The King's Road.
The next town holds.
And we arrive to discover a village burning.
Take lightly the mantle of fame. Being a figurehead is not without consequences.
You arrive at Brayden at dawn to find it under attack from raiders. As the village burns, 3 brave farmers attempt to defend the last of the surviving villagers. One calls out, "Please help! We must stop these savages before all is lost." We draw our weapon. One-handed weapons are recommended against northerners, so maybe the hammer really isn't the best. Okay, we'll take the soldier's sword, since defeating northerners will move us closer to unlocking its token. Got the secret boss MC2M? Well, congratulations, my friend. That means... Oh, you butchered it. Damn. You must be really, really good at strategically building characters, then, because games like that ain't no joke. Congratulations, really. Alright, so just a standard pack of raiders and trappers, nothing we haven't dealt with before. And we've got a little bit of help from the Toil faction. Not that they do a lot of good. They're a nice distraction, though. So we finally get to see the soldier's sword up close. Very utilitarian, but looks nicer than the rusty piece of crap we started the game with. Every hero must have a heroic sword by their side. This, however, is utterly ordinary.
I hope this works.
Gonna try to protect our friends because we might have some kind of fame gain associated with it. Oh man, sounds like a storm's brewing outside. Dispelled my shield, but didn't get me. Which is all that matters. And we got this. Down he goes. That should give us some fame. Equipment. Hey, Dimension Dweller, glad you could join us this evening. We're playing Hand of Fate 2. It's a really interesting indie game. I think this one was released 2018 by a company that unfortunately went under just last year. Where we are basically playing a tabletop card game with an exiled demigod who is creating like these various cards and encounters for us from our own experiences. 2017, there you go. I knew it was just a few years ago. And the game brings us an interesting blend of like tabletop RPG storytelling, text adventures, like sort of Batman Arkham style combat, and quite a few games of chance, all of which I am soundly terrible at. Let's see, new armor. It has a fame requirement we've already met. After 6 successful blocks, we can stun a single enemy with a bash, and we deal more damage the more life we lose in a given combat. Okay, that's pretty good. It's better than what we start out with anyway.
Rage grants is often misunderstood.
The surviving villagers rush to the farmer's aid and tend their wounds. "Thank you, hero," they cry. "You saved our people, but sadly our village is no more. Please accept this small token of our gratitude. Since we kept all of our allies alive through the battle, we received 4 fame." Oh, you're quite welcome. I'm not the world's best at explaining games, this one in particular, But MC2M here seems to be something of an expert, so maybe they could offer a more comprehensive explanation of the mechanics. It's not time to celebrate. They are surely mustering to raid the town of Terran. They point further south down the riverbank. If you're a true hero, you will surely save them. With another village lost to the Northerners, you set out for the next town without delay. Okay, so if we play our cards right, we should earn enough fame to wield this weapon. It's basically this game's equivalent of Mjolnir before the Northerners reach another town. The town crier announces the Empire seeks mercenaries to join the battle against corruption. You seek out the watchtower where recruitment is taking place. You arrive in time to hear Sir Malifau's plan to wipe out the Paupers district. The outbreak began there, and we cannot risk sparing any of their lives, he says. Sir Malifau the Green leads the mercenaries to the Pauper district where the poor and sick have been walled off from the rest of the city. Over the wailing of the corrupted, Sir Malifau gives his command to charge. You find yourself surrounded by corrupted. You draw your weapon and set your feet. So it's basically a much easier version of the Chapter 2 boss then. A Blight Terror with almost as many reinforcements as we had on our side in that battle, and far fewer soldiers or minions on its side. And it looks like the zombies have turned the green shader all the way up. There we go. This is the only one that should give us trouble. We have to break its armor before we can finish it off. Whoop. Let it embed its arm in the ground, and there we go. A quote-unquote challenge, ladies and gents. Yeah, MC2M, that's a very good, concise explanation of the game. And in this one, unlike in the first title, every single one of the base game's 22 chapters has a series of unique mechanics built around it. So in this case, we need to acquire fame, a resource you can get at any point in the game to equip better or special armor or weapons, in order to wield a legendary artifact that was given to us by the survivors of a village raid. And here, the distressed damsel again. I've been robbed by a band of thugs. Is there anything you can do? This is a dice gambit with a pretty high floor. Let's see what we can do. 13. So it's all going to come down to this. And no, not enough, unfortunately. Meaning,
and thus you have lost this round.
why, thank you. Now, if you would be so kind as to give me all of your gold. The woman draws a pair of concealed blades from her corset. Come on out, boys. Just more thugs. We can still take them down and get the loot, though, so I'm not upset. Yeah, the first two chapters are tutorials. Specifically, like, the first two really teach you a lot of the game's core mechanics. We're in Chapter 4 now. Yeah, I am terrible when it comes to games of chance. Marginally better when it comes to the combat. That is a very well fortified looking wagon in the background. Oh, and Malaclips is already on his last legs, of course. Chapter 4 teaches about fame. Okay, you would say strength is the last tutorial challenge? Alright, I'll keep that in mind. I don't remember too much about this game. I only played about halfway through it when it first came out, and saw nothing from that point on. And they've added a whole bunch of cool little things through DLC, some of it totally free since then. But I did just enough preliminary reading online to know that Strength is a chapter that's really infamous. Okay, we should be able to get that. Yeah, that's nice and easy.
Win here sets the tone.
And we got all the fame we need to equip the absolute devastation hammer. The spiritual successor to my favorite weapon from the first game, Huge Hammer. And we get a ton of food, right on.
It appears you are worthy to wield the weapon of champions. The
And-
raiders will hide from you no longer.
We have met the objective for this chapter. You turn Hretha's ire over in your hands. The rune on its face begins emitting a golden light. It's unclear if it now weighs less or you have a newfound strength, but either way, you can now wield the mighty hammer. Malaclypse looks on in awe. Wow, that would earn a pretty penny at the markets. But first, let's use it to break the barrier to the Northern Raiders' camp, slay the shaman, and stop the raids, once and for all. Remembering the Elder of Talos' instruction, you set out toward the sanctum of the shaman. But not before we reveal the rest of this map. Oh, it's the shrine.
With gods to arrive here, you do not need them. You have your own strengths.
This is a platinum card, which will almost always give you some kind of really serious boon. And it's the first one we've unlocked. Your quest brings you to a remote shrine, high in the mountains. It is revered among the few local peasants for its remarkable healing properties. You kneel before the shrine and beseech the gods to take pity on you.
Dice are a constant reminder.
Oh, now we get a near perfect roll. That's nice.
Die, as I'm sure you know, and they are often called bones for the material from which they were crafted. Here, however, they may also bring a touch of life.
Dimension Dweller says that would be hilarious if it had an enchantment to just change the material to be lighter as you meet whatever condition. That actually seems to be the implication. The idea is, as we become more and more renowned as a traveling hero and warrior, that particular weapon becomes easier to wield. I say this because in this chapter we also acquired a weapon that's essentially the inverse, called the Humble Hammer, that deals proportionally higher damage the lower the wielder's fame is. So I think that's actually what's going on there. But yes, we got a solid roll there, and sunshine appears through a break in the clouds to bathe you in a radiant glow. We gained quite a bit of life there. Not that we're gonna need it, but nice to have.
You will notice
Another distressed
there is a
damsel.
stop for every distressed traveler along the way.
Also, kudos to the dealer. I think he, or his voice actor rather, turned in an absolutely stellar performance in both games. Got it that time. Excellent. Thank you, the woman says as you help her from the carriage. Please accept this as a token of my gratitude. Some more gold. A ton of gold. Buffed by the Berserker's Creed. You thank the woman and continue on your way. And here, the stolen ones.
To suffer most, they have an excess of capacity for it.
You linger near a fort in the abandoned docks of the great city. Malaclypse sidles out of an alley and strokes his mustache. Well, coin slave, the Empire has the stolen mage children hidden away in there. Now, I'm not fond of children, as you well know. You recall a time when Malaclypse was asked to relinquish his last sweet roll to a crying child. He refused. But Ira won't give me the cure if we don't rescue them. He outlines the plan to you. It is worryingly brief. These forts are all interconnected, so even if we defeat one lot of guards, they're bound to call reinforcements. We'll have to get in and out quick, so we just have to defeat 2 Imperial units within a minute. We can do that. So musketeers and 4 guardsmen. Okay, got it? Malaclypse has drawn a helpful diagram in the dirt. The self-portrait is particularly generous. We'll ask why the Empire would kidnap them. We're evidence that the old world ever existed, and they don't like that. Yeah, so this also introduces us to another really central theme of Hand of Fate 2's story. Callus, the Usurper, the player character from the first game, after defeating the dealer and taking his magical power for themselves, have erected an empire based around, like, ideals of human supremacy and, like, the ultimate victory of the mundane. So, the different fantastical races inhabiting the world, magic users, anything that we would consider out of the ordinary, is typically either suppressed or channeled to be used for oppression by the Empire, who, I need to remind you, we do work for from time to time. So, okay, we're just going to go bust our way in through these Empire soldiers. Oh, no. Look like it could be 4, maybe? No, 3. 3. Nope, it was 2. Crap. Okay, so now we have to deal with a 3rd card within 60 seconds. That's okay, though. We have, well, first we have to take down a Blight Terror, but we have, the special relic weapon with us, which should make short work of the Imperial Guards. Pretha's Ire, let's take a look at it. Oh, that is beautiful. Yeah, we're gonna have some fun with this. Bestowed to the people of the western fishing villages by the clans of the north in a time of peace and prosperity. A sequel that makes the previous protagonist an antagonist? Yes, and vice versa. In the original game, the dealer was not so much a villain, but certainly an antagonist. You were playing this game of life and death against him, with ostensibly your lives and his magical power, essentially as a demigod, as the stakes. He somehow survived, though, and is training this protagonist to challenge the first, and restore him to what he believes is his rightful place, as well as allowing for a continuance of the magical and the fantastic in this world.
I hope this works.
Oh yeah, look at that damage. Oh yeah. Yeah, it does not matter that we trip the alarm and have to deal with more Imperials. This thing is going to tear right through them. Oh, there's a bad ending and a good ending to this game? I had no idea. Well, let's try to get the good ending then, if we figure out how. The final monstrosity falls, gurgling. Malaclypse gazes at the bodies with a troubled look on his face. This one is wearing a necklace. Looks like a family heirloom. The bard, usually fond of looting and stealing, doesn't allow you to touch the necklace. You peer up at the access tunnel. It's set too high on the wall and you won't be able to go back that way. Let's explore the sewers. Oh dear. Let's see. What are we thinking, folks? Anything that's not... anything that's not the failure. That's a blessing if you really like the dealer, as long as he doesn't turn out to be a surprise final boss. He isn't in this game. He was in the first, where, it's foreshadowed heavily, but after you clear, 4 suits worth of his playing card courtiers, 2, okay. Okay, good. A little hatch at the top of this really ornate card cabinet opens up, and his card is revealed as the final boss. And you fight him as a little tiny miniature version of yourself, well, really appropriate to the game, about the size of that token on the table. Was there any way to track the cards? Yeah, you can follow the cards on the 4-card Monty. The thing is, I'm just atrocious at it. If I was operating purely off of a PC screen, I could probably manage, but not off the TV. You find a familiar piece of equipment stuck in a particularly unpleasant clump of sludge. Hey, check it out, it's a sword we don't need.
And their religious righteousness.
Malaclypse gags as you wipe the sludge and add the item to your inventory. By the maker, coin slave! I know you're penniless, but must you be so distressing? You peer up at the access tunnel. Okay, let's try and find a way out. Oh, Lord. Looks like 1, maybe? Thinking 1? 1 or 4. Maybe 4. I mean, we can handle a lot of Imperials, but not this many. Not if we get 4. Yeah. Oh, crap. Another huge failure. And we get yet more reinforcements. You've discovered that you're also terrible at tracking these. Good, so it's not just me. Okay, we find ourselves in a cellar. There are wine caskets, jars of pickled vegetables, and a sizable iron cage wreathed in pulsing light. Within the cage are the missing mage children, unsure of your intentions. Malaclypse reaches for the heavy lock upon the cage's gate. It sizzles, and he drops it quickly. By Freda's skirts, that burns! He presses a long metal implement into your hand and steps back. You tentatively touch the lock, and it doesn't burn you. You attempt to pick the lock. Oh no, it's one of these. So we need to hit the silver to succeed.
Like a sign, bearing hope or failure.
Okay. Trying to get the timing down. Yay! There we go. I will take it.
Timed.
With a click, the lock pops open and clatters to the floor. Okay, children. Malaclypse awkwardly pats one on the head. Your mother and I are going to go kill the bad men. You stay here. Unless we die, in which case you're on your own. The children nod, numb with terror. You sneak up the stairs and survey the scene before you. The soldiers mill about the fort's courtyard. Malaclypse draws his spellbook. I have an incantation that will covertly teleport a few soldiers far away from here, potentially to their deaths. But I'll require some of your blood. These are spells I rarely use. I'll need blood magic to be able to perform them. The bard notes your raised eyebrow and clutches his arm defensively. Not me! I'm a gentle flower. Besides, look at you. You're simply bursting with blood. Yeah, go ahead, take it. I've got 10 max life. That's fine, because we got 15 from the shrine. And, oh no, it's one of these.
Favorite innovations. It combines many different.
Thankfully, Malaclypse can help us with this. Trying to track these. Ugh. Oh, no, it doesn't stop. Yeah, we will redraw. Oh, crap. I am so good at this. So good. Which means we won't have Malaclypse's help.
Move faster next time.
And we have to charge straight into him. Love how Malaclypse is a mesh of Latin root for evil and what sounds like apocalypse. Yeah, he's technically a lovable rogue character, but he gets us into way more trouble than he ever gets us out of. And was actually the villain of the first chapter of the game, for all intents and purposes. Musketeers. Deadly at a distance, only the most skilled are recruited into musketry. Musketeers fire heavy attacks, defend with a shield or evade. Well, I can't do that, so, hope you guys like hammers. We need to get one of those area attacks, like so. So Hreth's Ire is, as expected, slow as molasses, but packs a punch. We just may be able to do this, kids. There we go. Good. Well, I don't know that we'll be able to do this, actually. There's quite a few of them. Maybe not. Oh, afraid not. Dang it! Another time, then. I think I got a single good draw out of, like, maybe 5 or 6 that entire time, so it's understandable we'd fail this one. So we have to flee and return later. That's a shame. But at the very least, we can move on to the boss now.
Yourself for this battle. Now you must face it, but not alone, perhaps.
It is as the Talos Elder had described. The shaman's sanctum is protected by a magical barrier preventing you from advancing. We use Hreth's ire, raise it above our head, and bring it down against the magical wall with all our might. The hammer finds its mark, and we are immediately engulfed in a blizzard of snow and ice. The howling winds spin us this way and that, then vanish as quickly as they had appeared. Disoriented, we look around for Malaclips, but he is nowhere to be found. We find our bearings, then realize we are standing in a forest clearing, covered in newly fallen snow. You step back and bump into something. Turning, you see a towering northern clansman, bald and brutal.
He has brute strength, if nothing else.
A new companion. He does not flinch, nor seem even the slightest bit interested in you. He stands with weapons drawn and brow lowered. You turn to follow his gaze. There you see her, capitalized, notice, sitting on a throne of wicker and thorns, small straw-plated charms and oddities hanging from the trees behind her. Before her kneel countless raiders, worshipping their leader in an eerie stillness. The defender of villages and the exiled one, the shaman says with a hiss. She steps down from her throne. I know why you have come. Let this end. I hope you know how to fight, hero, says the bald northerner calmly. There are more warriors here than we can kill. To defeat a snake, you must cut off its head. You ready your weapon as the shaman and her clansmen surround you. So we unlock our second ally by completing this chapter, who will provide us with a different ability in battle as well as additional aid in chance games outside of battle, which is great because, good God, chance games. And our boss here is, I want to say, one of the more, challenging northerner units. The shaman, raid leader Gerda. Raid leaders are the front line of the northern assault, centers of tactical and religious guidance. The shaman casts spells that heal her allies. Attack quickly to interrupt the spell. Alright, so our buddy's gonna help us out by occupying them. Okay, so we need to get rid of her right off the bat because she's healing faster than we can damage them. Well, that's one down. Ooh. And she has an AoE, teleport, when she gets a little too low on health. Or rather, when we attack her in rapid enough succession. That's another one down. Luckily, she can't heal herself. Oh, and that's the combat over. As he said, we cut off the head and chapter done. Brilliant. MC2M says, here we go, Grimrock 2, hard, insane, Iron Man completed. Now I can pay attention. Well, congratulations, man. That's a hell of a challenge. The shaman's body writhes as a dark spirit leaves her chest and vanishes into the air. The remaining raiders flee into the forest. As the skies clear, the sun beams down on the colossal warrior that fought alongside you. I am Kolbjorn, he explains. I was born into the northern clans, but I am clanless now. You do not know us, but we were not always like this. Perhaps one day the clans will return to the tradition they have lost. We befriended Kolbjorn the Wanderer. You and I have cleared a small part of the stain from my honor this day. If you call, I will answer. He reaches out a massive hand and clasps your forearm. Let us head back and find your friend. And with that, you and Kolbjorn make your way back through the forest in search of Malaclips.
Another card returns to my deck. Do not worry. I have more challenges before you will be ready to face my foe.
Dimension Dweller says, like that finishing animation. Yeah, the hammers are absolutely brutal and absolutely glorious. I'm not sure that I prefer heavy weapons, but given the enhancements it was able to offer us, I'd say Hreth's ire is definitely worth using, in this chapter at least.
Another northerner falls before you, and a new companion joins your journey.
We've unlocked quite a bit of additional equipment. Armor of Gluttony, Ring of Food, the Pious Robes, and a Frontier Barbet. As well as additional encounters. Fame and Shame, the Watchtower, the Raider ambush, and a bridge skirmish. Just a basic combat encounter, I believe. And for meeting the chapter's fame condition and proving ourselves a worthy hero, we've now unlocked Tretha's Ire. Lovely. For defending Kolbjorn, or befriending Kolbjorn, excuse me, we get access to him as a companion character in the first of his companion quests. And for defending all the villages, we receive the Elder's Gift Platinum card. To think, in the span of 2 chapters, we've gone from having no Platinum cards to having so many we have to, like, choose them quite selectively.
You understand the basic rules of the
And we've unlocked additional arcana.
From here, they will change.
The Hierophant, the Lovers, and the Chariot. I distinctly recall, I believe it's the Lovers being a hilarious little mini-campaign involving a peasant farmer with an somewhat disturbing fixation on potatoes, trying to meet up with like a much higher class noblewoman. I think that's that chapter. The Hierophant, I remember being kind of tricky, and I remember nothing about the Chariot whatsoever. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, I'm afraid I'm actually going to have to... that's exactly it? Oh, hell yes. I can't wait to get to that one then. I'm actually going to have to call it for tonight. I'm sorry, like, people are just now getting here and tuning in to, or watching the stream directly. But I'm going to call it for tonight, and hopefully be back tomorrow evening from either 6 to 9 or 7 to 10. In chat, do you guys think an earlier or later time slot would be better for these? I mean, I honestly have no preference, since it's not like I can go anywhere or do anything right now. And I'm going to try to purchase all the DLC that'll give us access to additional quest lines and companions, as well as take on the next 4 Arcana. You like earlier? Alright, maybe. Yeah, so keeping it 6 to 9 at least for right now. Alright. Let me see if there's anything else we've unlocked. Did we unlock anything in terms of appearance? I don't think so. It's fine, I was delayed. Glad I could catch the end, get some sleep. Oh, no worries, I will. I've probably got a few more hours ahead of me. But, I appreciate it. Real quick, I just want to see if we've gotten anything. And no, we did not. Unfortunately, our options for customization are comparatively few. Alright. Well, in that case, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you all so much for turning out to tonight's stream. I am honored that you have elected once again to share yourselves and some of your time with me. I'll be back tomorrow evening, probably from 6 to 9, until we can sort out some kind of alternative schedule, if one is necessary, to explore what's been revealed to us by the DLC packs, as well as take on the Emperor, Hierophant, Lovers, and Chariot. I promise you guys, at least one of these is going to be a hell of a show. I will see you then, and until then, take care. Thank you so much for watching, either live or VOD on YouTube. I'll see you all next time. Take care of yourselves and your loved ones in this trying time. Bye-bye.